Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, Pearl, sometimes people just don't change. And there's a reason why some franchises are thought of as being totally chaotic, embarrassing. And this is a reputation that the Knicks had fostered over 20 years until they hired Tom Thibodeau, made some changes to the roster, pulled themselves out of the basement, out of the doldrums, and lo and behold, they fired that man yesterday. And we are back to Knicks basketball, complete dysfunction and complete embarrassment.
Well, it's funny. I'm seeing sort of 50-50. A lot of Knicks fans, it seems like, wanted this guy gone anyway, right? So I'm not going to give you the complete embarrassment. Somewhat embarrassing, somewhat aggressive. That being said, we all watched that Knicks-Pacers series and said, well, I don't know if this is a highly functioning basketball unit either. So I don't think, to me, it's not a total embarrassment.
Yeah.
I'll go 50% embarrassment.
Well, I mean, 50%, you're close here to tipping the scales back to total irrelevance, which is funny because the Knicks would go through 19-win seasons, 20-win seasons, and by the way, celebrities would still show up to the Garden, So you have to grade them a little bit on a curve. What I don't understand, and obviously the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau yesterday. First time they'd had back-to-back 50-win seasons since the mid-'90s. Obviously, the first time they've been back to the Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. And there was a moment, and Manny is sitting in the big chair today for EJ, Connor's in as well. And there was a moment when Manny shed tears, shared on the group chat, when the Knicks got to the Eastern Conference Finals. And you want to know who else was crying? Not just Manny and all the other, people who went out to celebrate like they had just won the title when they never did. It was the front office. Do you guys remember the video that got leaked out? And it was a behind-the-scenes video, and it was Leon Rose, and it was Rick Brunson, and it was all the people, if you're paying attention to the Knicks, behind the scenes, the general manager, the coaching staff, not Thibodeau, but other people in the front office. And they were also emotional. Like they had accomplished something. That makes me think they had reached the internal goal of what they were hoping to get to, which is the Eastern Conference Finals. That is a completely realistic goal for the Knicks this past year. So you're telling me that all of a sudden all those people who were crying 2 weeks ago, out of joy because of a Halliburton luckiest shot in the world and because Brunson and Cat got outplayed in this series, and Tom Thibodeau got outcoached. You're telling me all that changed in 2 weeks? That is terrible decision-making.
I gotta. Leon Rose was caught on camera crying.
They're all emotional. Manny knows the video I'm talking about.
I've never even seen Leon Rose.
He's a phantom.
I could see Rick Brunson crying. He seems quite emotional.
They just destabilized the whole organization with this.
The front office was like emotional after beating the Celtics?
Yes. This was a mission accomplished vibe that was not just the fans. And so, listen, did you have home court against the Pacers? You did. Were you slight favorite against the Pacers? Sure. You also went 6 games. You lost. Nobody thought you were actually a championship team. Now, listen, do you want to take advantage of the opportunity in front of you? Yes, Celtics are bad. Cavs got bounced. Or Celtics were hurt. Cavs got bounced. Your Sixers were a non-factor this year. The Heat were a non-factor. Giannis got bounced early. Yeah, did the ocean open for them a little bit? Sure, but it's not like the Pacers are a bad team.
Well, to be fair, though, they opened the ocean against the Celtics. They beat the crap out of a slightly injured Celtics team. So they get credit for the Celtics team. Celtics series. It was a combination of injuries and great play.
Right, so you beat the defending champs.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big accomplishment. Yeah, I think that's why people were shocked that they fired him.
Yeah, and this is why I think the owner came in and Bigfooted him. And
you definitely think there was a report that it wasn't the owner.
Yes, and I think the owner gets insulated when things like this happen, and that's what signing those checks does. Because I ask you, it just doesn't make sense on the surface. You destabilize a team now that was a 50-win team. You had these mission accomplished vibes. I think you did take that meaningful step forward. And you're going to tell me that Tom Thibodeau, turns out is 68 years old, that he's a guy who's not known for using deep benches and deep rotations. The front office just realized this. The guy's been in the building for 5 years and he's been coaching for 40 or whatever. They know exactly who they have. So to say that it was just the Pacers series that decided his fate, to me, that doesn't add up. You know who's in your building.
Right. But I understand exactly what you're saying. But if you actually look at Tom Thibodeau and this team, do you think he is the coach that can take him over the top? Most people say no.
Okay, but can I flip the question?
Yeah.
Do you think they underachieved this year? Because
No.
it's not just the coach, it's also the roster.
No, but I do think when they're looking at next season and they say, hey, who's going to give us the best chance to win a title? Is it Tom Thibodeau, who's going to play the same 6 guys no matter what we do? Or if we bring in a new look and maybe shift the personnel a little bit? I think I understand why a lot of Knicks fans are like, okay, Thibodeau has a shelf, a limit.
Yeah.
There's only so much this guy can do. He loves winning regular season games. It doesn't seem like Tom Thibodeau teams are really built for the postseason. They did have this success this year. Yeah, I mean, we all get it. Like, it doesn't seem like Tom Thibodeau is leading this team to a title. So, wait, I understand you're flipping the question. Did they underachieve? No. But can they go the next step? No.
Okay, well, then I ask you this question.
Yeah.
Why, after Tom Thibodeau has only lasted 5 years when he was with Chicago and with Minnesota Timberwolves, so you want to talk about a shelf life, we know exactly what it is, and this was year 5 for Thibodeau in New York. Why did they give him a $30 million extension last year?
That I have no idea.
And this is why I think it's the owner again, because the owner, we've seen James Dolan, who obviously there's no love lost between he and I. You know, he has a big problem with some things I said about him. He will pay $30 million for someone to go away. He will. He paid Phil Jackson more to go away, right? So he's made mistakes. He goes through coaches like Kleenex, and I think there was only a matter of time until he was going to stay away, until he could, not stay away. And I think there's people in his ear who are telling him, you had a championship team this year, and you got embarrassed by the Pacers. And so this is owneritis or whatever.
Yeah, where the owner believes his team is better than it is. I see what you're saying.
And then
I
here's the other part.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think this is a backslide here from the Knicks. Like, you had just taken a step forward where you got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and now I don't trust you again. See, that was a big thing that even nationally I think that people grasped, that there was a trust now in the Garden, right? That there was an idea that there's an adult at the wheel, that there's somebody who's making good decisions. Are they all perfect decisions? No sports team is perfect, but they were good decisions that made sense, that did, take them forward. Nobody was crying when Julius Randle got traded, okay?
Right.
So there were things that were taking them forward. I think this represents a step backwards. It's a destabilizing move. And can I bring you one other, and this is a little insidery for Knicks stuff, but if you're a basketball fan, you already know about this relationship. The fact is, who's the lead assistant for the Knicks?
Rick Brunson?
Yeah, the star player's dad. So this is basically now Rick Brunson, is he still going to be there? Now is the star player going to get alienated? You just change the coaching staff. Or does Rick Brunson get to stay like you just bought a new house and cousin It gets to sleep in the basement still? Like and no disrespect to Rick, I'm just trying to use an analogy here. Like you're buying a house with somebody already moved in to the basement.
Wait, is Brunson the number 2 there?
He's sitting right there. He's the one who's, whether his title is number 2, he's the guy who's the most demonstrative on the sideline, and his kid is the captain.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, Brunson's not going anywhere.
So he gets to stay for the new
coaching
staff?
Well, it feels like there's a great chance they'll bring back Johnny Bryant, their former number 2, have him as number 1, and then just put Bryant in, put Rick Brunson in. So there is possibility for some continuity. But, by the way, let's go back 1 year. I think Thibodeau was almost a punchline last season. Like everybody was making fun of him last season, not this year.
Well,
last season,
because last year, though.
Well, he wore his starting lineup into dust last year. And everyone's like, what is this guy doing? He has no chance. Like, no one was afraid of the Knicks. They're like, well, Thibodeau's killed these guys. Right. Then they added some talent in this year. I think their team got much better. So it worked a little better. But I can't believe they should have fired him. If they were going to fire him last year, right? Because last year, that was on him.
Well,
like
Julius
he screwed
Randle
that whole
got
thing
hurt,
up.
though, and Brunson broke his hand.
Yes, but they were playing 50 minutes a game.
Yeah.
I'm putting a little overtime numbers in there. So I just think that Thibodeau, we know what Tibbs is. He is an intense regular season guy. He's going to win you 50 games, but he's not going to get that far in the playoffs. So we all know that. Nothing changed. Like, we know this guy. As you mentioned, he's been coaching for 15 years. So them firing him, yes, I understand the Dolan situation, but it's not a shock. You know, this is not like I was surprised. I thought he was going to keep the job because there were a lot of insiders said that.
At least for one more year.
A lot of insiders, even the top insiders, like he's safe. But it doesn't hurt me. If I'm a Knicks fan, I probably would have been in the fire with Thibodeau camp. Would you have? Yeah, because like, where are you going with this guy?
Well, I ask you then. Okay, we're asking, all that feel-good stuff with the Knicks, is it, I don't know how to say it, out the window now, but it's a serious peril.
Wow.
It is in peril. It's in danger. It's not like this guy's been hanging around for a decade and, you have all that, it's year after year of you getting close. This is not my Buffalo Bills, where I wanted Sean McDermott out for Jim Harbaugh. It's been a decade basically of that. You have 5 years, but the first year you basically have to just throw away. He was coming off was it a 20-win season? I mean, you got to give a guy a second to fumigate that place because the Garden was absolutely infested with guys who were getting, were not good at their jobs. And there was a lot of culture changing that had to happen. So 4 years making the playoffs. Sorry you lost to Trae Young. A lot of people did. Sorry you lost to the Pacers. A lot of people did. They beat the number 1 seed in the East.
Is Trae Young beating any other team?
He beat your Sixers.
Feels like he loves beating the Knicks. But that being said, wait, about the Knicks, so, you say all that.
So this is where I'm going.
But if Knicks fans do not, I don't think they're following you down this path, but go ahead.
So you're asking, who's the guy to take them over the top? Right? So let's get this straight. In a season that I don't think anyone had championship expectations, maybe Eastern Conference Finals, that would be the logical step forward. They do that, and then the guy gets fired. So who's the guy who's going to take him over the top? First of all, ask yourself, is the roster good enough to be over the top? That would be my number one thing. Do you actually have a championship caliber team? Real look in the mirror. Do you actually have a real championship caliber team? And then who's going to be the guy? If you're saying Michael Malone, who was fired from the Denver Nuggets, well, do you want to know who played his starting 5 even more collective minutes last year than Tom Thibodeau played his starting 5? Yeah, Mike Malone. A guy known for defensive, just like Thibodeau, who is not going to represent a meaningful upgrade, in my opinion. They coached on the same staff together. I mean, this is not exactly bringing in a totally different breath of fresh air, right? One guy's from Queens and the other guy's from Connecticut. It's the same. The accent's a little different. It's the same type of thing. So I think you really have to say who is going to be a difference maker. And this is why I think the owner was the one who fired the code red on this also. I don't think they have that guy lined up. A lot of people think you wouldn't do this unless you have someone who you know is going to be the next guy. I'm not so sure about that.
People think that about the Knicks? I mean, actually, I had an interesting discussion. Did you know that there's really been no hires this offseason? There's just been interims. I was like, you know what the Knicks' problem is? That they are too late in the process, right? I guess the process hasn't even started. That was news to me. What happened in the coaching carousel this year? I'm used to the NFL one where 7 guys get fired and hired every year. So it does seem like you're replacing. I like what you're saying. They're replacing Thibodeau with Thibodeau 2, and that's inevitably what will happen, right? Unless
you want to go in a different direction. And the actual different direction, if you really wanted to go with a guy who does have championship pedigree but would be a completely different type of vibe, is actually Mike Budenholzer.
Oh, Jesus. Are you kidding me? If you put Budenholzer, Mike Malone, and Tom Thibodeau in a room, I mean, they're basically same exact outfits.
Well,
those guys are all they're the same person. The 3 people you just described.
They're not the same person.
They're literally the same exact person.
No. They're not for these 2 reasons. One, Budenholzer is known for more as a offensive guy, and he's someone who rests his players all the time. He comes from Popovich, who invented load management, DNP old for Tim Duncan all those years. This is, if you actually want the opposite, then that is actually and you want a championship thing. Well, it was kind of shocking that Budenholzer even won the championship that year. The Bucks went on that cool run, but he actually would check a lot of boxes.
You're right on all. You might be right on all the basketball, but geez Louise, from an excitement standpoint, you're going from Tom Thibodeau to Mike Budenholzer. They almost have the same weird names. I don't know. It just feels like he's even more similar than Mike Malone, who looks.
If you want the actual opposite, because here's the other part. You want to go with these other assistant coach names, that's fine. I didn't know who Mark Daigneault was until he got hired by OKC. I was unfamiliar with, Taylor Jenkins. Some of these guys, unless you're really.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Well, unless you're just really following this stuff, they're not household names yet. Mark Daigneault's about to be because he's coaching in the finals with OKC. But I don't know how an assistant's going to do. I have no idea if Johnny Bryant would come in and be good. No clue. You don't know. I don't know.
He's got a strong tie game. I researched him a little bit. He looks like a head coach. Who
wears a tie anymore? They all wear tracksuits.
He likes to wear a plaid tie. I think he's going to come in, if he does get the job, and up the fashion of the coaching sideline. Well, why not go? What in the history of sports, like the young assistant often is the guy to take you over the top, not the old retread. Budenholzer screams of retread to me.
So then you got a couple other options here.
Give me a not. Okay.
Well, I got two options for you, but one's going to feel like a retread, and the other one is the outside the box one-ish. One is going to be Jay Wright. That's the obvious connection. 100 people have made it, and that's because half of his team plays on the Knicks. This is like he's the one who recruited these guys originally, so maybe he gets and they won together. So maybe Dolan backs up the Brinks truck, offer you can't refuse, and he goes back to coaching. It's possible. No idea if he's going to work on the pro level.
Yeah.
Again, you don't know. I don't know. The other one, and this is somebody who's been talked about a lot, but to be fair, came out of the broadcast booth, went to the Celtics, was a huge part of putting them over the top, had a very good year with the Clippers this year, and it'd be bringing back Van Gundy.
That'd be my choice from a content standpoint.
Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah.
Not Stan.
Love me some Jeff Van Gundy.
Well, he's kind of revitalized himself a little bit because he got a lot of credit for that Celtics championship because Missoula had to step into a tough situation, and Van Gundy was a big sounding board for him. And I think he's done really good work with the Clippers, too.
Guys wanting to get back into coaching for a decade, and no other team wants him, but the Knicks are going to go there?
I don't know. The 90s are back. So those are basically my ideas for you. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
What about, you didn't mention,
Hurley.
I would go Dan Hurley over Jay
no.
Wright, because Jay Wright has zero interest by every single report. And also Jay Wright, I mean, he feels like he's enjoying retirement.
Yeah.
Dan Hurley's obviously interesting.
no.
Like he's a huge swing and a miss type guy. Like, why you wouldn't want Dan Hurley over
No.
Mike Budenholzer or
No.
some like guy who has retread written on his sweatshirt?
No.
Oh my God.
I don't think Dan Hurley,
No,
and this is going to sound condescending, and I don't mean it this way. I don't think he has the maturity to be an NBA
100%.
head coach.
Dude, he could coach circles around most of these guys. I
Sure, in
totally
college
disagree with
ranks.
you.
Yeah,
there.
and by the way, he'd end up like in the hospital or screaming or like being taken out of the garden in handcuffs or something.
That's
I
better
just
than
don't
Mike
trust him.
Budenholzer. Mike Budenholzer will be there 4 years and no one will even remember he was there the day that Dolan fires him.
Perloff, this is why I said it was stupid to fire Thibodeau because there's not an obvious unless they've got their diamond in the rough. Anyway, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Just let Rick Brunson coach the
But it's a
freaking team.
big, it's a big market, but they make a lot of like kind of, I don't know, hires. The lane that they're in is Thibodeau, Fizdale, Woodson. So I think you're right. It's going to be
Mike D'Antoni was pretty famous. He's kind of completely fallen out out of public view right
but
now.
it's
And by
not
the way, they
like
brought in Phil Jackson to run the team. I don't think you can get any more high profile.
The one
than
hire
that.
was Jackson, but generally though they tend to go with these lifer kind of guys. So I think
Derek Fisher.
Yeah, I think they're more
18
likely
coaches in 9 years. They went through everybody. Every single person has coached the Knicks.
They're probably going to
Kurt
hire a
Rambis.
guy who's like, yeah, like just like Tibbs. Like, I mean, I honestly,
Jeff
at least
Hornacek.
Dan Hurley would be the most interesting name, right? Because Jay Wright, forget it. He's not doing it.
Interesting to you, not interesting to Knicks fans, because if you
I don't know.
If you
I
fire
don't
Tibbs
know.
because you think you're on the precipice of a title, or you actually think you're further away from a title because you made this change, is Dan Hurley the guy who's
Oh
taking
my
it
God,
over
I
the
think
top?
Knicks fans would be thrilled to get Dan Hurley. I mean, I'm sorry, like Dan Hurley is let's not mess around. He's the best college coach. To get the number one college coach to come to the team compared to just lifetime assistant, head coach, whatever guy like Budenholzer, of course I would want Dan Hurley. Or just like take a swing here because your team's not quite good enough to get the title. Do something.
I don't think that's what people want to hear. Do something. I mean, you're in the Eastern Conference
I mean,
Finals. This is not the time for radical decision making.
Really? So you would just go with Thibodeau 2.0 and Johnny Bryant, or Thibodeau 2.0 and Mike Malone? I think you would
Not
go
Mike
in
Malone.
an opposite direction.
I think that the roster is the problem. So
well,
that's
yeah, but
why I think
Tibbs, you say that, but then again, if you gave Tibbs a better roster, would he still do the same thing where Jalen Brunson's going to dribble the ball for 16 out of 24? He likes to slow the pace, be a defensive guy. I'm not sure Tibbs would be the guy, even with a better roster, to get you over the top because he's never really done it in the playoffs.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. See you guys on the phones. You want to talk about, you got some coaching openings right now. So maybe the Knicks are competing with Phoenix for an opening. I have to imagine this is a more interesting situation in New York.
I did see something that the Suns have let the candidate know that they have made the decision. So it does look like the Suns have hired their coach. They're just waiting to make it
Well,
public
Oh, nice. We
information.
get the white smoke today.
Yep.
It's
exactly.
what, some guy named Mel Ott or something against Johnny Bryant?
Yes, literally.
Yeah, it's the funniest coaching search. But that being said, let's put up a poll. Who would you rather have if you were a Knicks fan? Dan Hurley or Mike Malone?
No. Can't be Mike Malone.
But Mike Malone's the strong front runner.
He is?
Yeah,
According
I mean-
to
Also,
who?
it's not Mel Ott. That's the baseball player.
Yeah, I was going to
Jordan
say
Ott.
Mel Ott. I thought you were making a joke.
Well, it's something odd,
Jordan
right?
Ott.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody named Ott except for the two Otts in baseball.
Not Mike Malone.
Wait, why not Mike Malone? But it's going to be.
Because I think that's
Michael, guys.
it's the perception that Michael Malone is the front runner when I don't think that's the reality.
Manny, you follow
He's
the
too
Knicks.
close to
all right.
Tibbs.
Okay. But, all right, then who's your front runner?
This is why I think they don't know their ass from their elbow. I don't think they were expecting to do a coaching search right now, and I think the owner came in and made this mess.
Oh,
I don't think they have a guy.
They definitely, first of all, they definitely had coaching search on their mind because apparently they were going to fire him after he lost early. He lost a game early in the playoffs, and he told his assistants, "I think I'm out of here." So they knew they were. I think
Dysfunction.
But Mike Malone and Johnny Bryant are the reported front runners. So put those. I would just say. Sorry,
How
I
about
keep
this?
going.
Can you do it this way?
Malone, Budenholzer, and who's the other retread?
No,
You
no.
guys-
Can we do it this way?
Yeah.
Dan Hurley, the next coach of the Knicks. Yes, no.
No.
What? That's not a question. I'm saying, who would you rather have, like a wild swing and a guy like Dan Hurley, or a retread NBA coach?
I think I'd rather have the retread.
That's what I'm saying. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Although Manny has a specific beef against Dan Hurley.
It's time to
can't do
try
that guy.
something. Try something crazy, and Dan Hurley is crazy.
The definition.
Yeah,
Look at that
there
guy's
we go.
eyes.
I think they need to rip the Band-Aid and try something way outside the box.
Spoken like a true Philadelphian.
Yeah, you just want the Knicks to be like back into the
Oh my
dark
God,
ages.
Dan Hurley! Oh, you bring any of these guys we mentioned compared to Dan Hurley.
Dan Hurley will burn out in 2 seasons.
Dan Hurley will say
2
no
seasons,
to the Knicks.
please. Try 41 games.
It'd be like a season and a half.
He will win an NBA title before anybody else you mention. I guarantee you this. I guarantee you that.
Okay, we've got a lot to do, including this is on the table for us here because it's a little surprising yesterday. Maybe not shocking, but surprising if you can split that, baby. We have Cowboys news for you that we must get to. We will do that next. And some other surprising NFL stuff that didn't see coming. Mount Olympus and Maggie Perloff continues today, 8 o'clock Eastern hour. Milwaukee/Green Bay. We're on slashies here. This is Manny's old stomping grounds, by the way.
That's right. I spent the summer in Wisconsin. Love me some Sheboygan brats, baby.
Manny, a legend in Wisconsin.
That's true.
888-710-4ISN. Let's go.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. We're trying to find a coach for the Knicks. The fact that Mark Darnold is coaching the likely NBA champion, first of all, no one knows how to say his name. He could walk into any room in America and no one would know who he was. Proves to me that it's a GM-driven NBA, and it almost doesn't even matter who the Knicks bring in. And actually, the one and on that front, like Johnny Bryant, who was the head assistant for years and went to Cleveland, supposed to be best friends with Donovan Mitchell, and somehow we'll get Donovan Mitchell to come to New York. It is all. I actually, when they fired him yesterday, my initial reaction was like, "Good thing NBA coaches don't do anything because it's not going to affect anything here."
Okay, but do you really think that?
I do, because
okay.
I think Joe Mazzulla you saw him coach against the Knicks. It looked like he was in a coma on the sideline, and he's an NBA
champion.
He's the defending champion, and he didn't make a single adjustment. So yes, I think it's very much I think all of sports have shifted the power to the GM. Like I look at my Philadelphia Eagles as Howie Roseman. Baseball is 1,000% the GM. The managers might not even exist. I think NBA has become very much a GM-driven league, and honestly, Leon Rose, the Knicks GM, is more important than whoever they hire here.
So wouldn't that be the reason to keep Thibodeau, or do you think Thibodeau was the outlier?
No, I think Thibodeau
he
wears
was the
down.
one having the opinions and not being flexible and stuff like that.
No, I just Thibodeau is old school. Like he makes your roster worse. I would bring in a young, sort of open-minded, get a guy with pace or something. No, I don't. Thibodeau is, if in a GM-driven league, Thibodeau's not your guy. He's sort of controlling. Like he's going to mess up your roster.
Huh. It's funny because you can say that about the Oklahoma City coach, but I think Rick Carlisle's getting a ton of credit for being and how he's coached this Pacers roster. I think that Steve Kerr gets a ton of credit for how he coached the Warriors and took over from Mark Jackson and took them to another level. But I think the Knicks are fooling themselves if they think that they're finding their next Steve Kerr. Because the roster is not good enough. Like, there's a difference. I love Jalen Brunson. We all do. He's a great story. He's not Steph Curry. It's a different calculus.
Well, it's different. I mean, honestly, Steph Curry was not Steph Curry until Mark Jackson got fired and Steve Kerr came in. But it wasn't Kerr who wanted to do all that. That was all the front offices. Like, they had to get in. Kerr didn't want to go to that offense. And they're like, we have analytics. And if you shoot more threes and twos, they were like these tech bros who came in with all this science and said,
years ahead.
You got to run this thing. So it's organizational. That's what, I think the Warriors are the perfect example. That is a front office dynasty.
Manny, you put in the poll question, do general manager or do coaches in the NBA even matter anymore? Let's go to JT, who's in Atlanta. JT, you saw Tibbs got fired yesterday and you thought what?
I thought exactly what you were thinking. Like, what are the Knicks doing? This is, again, the Knicks being the Knicks. You just gave this man a, $30 million extension last season.
Yeah.
He's taking you to heights that you haven't been to in this millennia. And then all of a sudden, I mean, what is it? What are you talking about? It was championship or bust all of a sudden? It's just ridiculous. And I know everybody, Knicks fans, got, Tom Thibodeau-itis, and there's, he's known for running his players. But look at this roster. Who else was he going to play? They had Landry. Was it Shamberg? I don't even know the guy's name that they got.
Landry Shamberg is a great name. It sounds more like a baseball player.
Quote unquote. He gave them a quote unquote spark, right? And they're like, "Oh, look what he found." Who were those guys? Those guys are not going to play on any other championship team. So again, if you're talking about this team being good enough to be a championship team, no, not this team. I actually think the team last year with Dante was better than this team. So it's just funny that the Knicks are being this way. And then for come on, Perloff, you got to stop killing me. I don't know when you're really trolling or not. Coaches don't matter.
Well,
coaches matter.
They don't matter.
He believes this.
I'm actually looking at it. They don't matter at all in the NBA because every championship coach the last 6 years, except for Kerr, has been fired. 2019 Raptors, Nick Nurse, gone. 2020 Lakers, Frank Vogel, gone. 2021 Bucks, Budenholzer, gone. 2023 Nuggets, Malone, gone. 2024 Celtics, Joe Mazzulla will be gone.
Well, hold on one second, though. Is that because the coaches are bad, or is that because the owners come in, the front offices are trigger happy, and the players, and I love when players, empowerment, whatever, they're the reason why we're tuning in. But they get a say sometimes, and that's not the best thing. Like, I think what happened in Phoenix, I think Vogel got fired. I think Budenholzer got fired because guys on the team didn't like him. Well, you know what? Like, give him a second, I think
exactly.
Everyone knows that coaches are totally irrelevant, so it all hinges on the front office. The NBA is such a high-stakes game in building your roster right now that you could pretty much put anybody. First of all, LeBron is 41. He's a coach on the floor for one of those teams anyway. I just think that it's not really how it works anymore. I don't think the coaches mean a lot. I would not pay up for a coach.
Carlo, I know you're trolling when you say what other teams would lose to Trae Young. He ended the process.
Yeah.
You know that, right? Like he crushed and ruined that whole team. It hasn't been the
Ben
same.
Simmons helped,
thing.
but yes, he definitely
did.
There
are a lot of guys who've beaten the Sixers.
we don't
Thibodeau,
have that kind of
let's
time,
look at
JT.
Thibodeau.
We're only a 4-hour show.
Let's look at Nick Nurse himself. Let's look at Tom Thibodeau last year. So it's like whatever. But again, like
if the GM treatment, your guys' GM, what are you guys gonna do there? I mean, you got. I forget who's the GM right now. What he used to be in Houston.
The Star Chaser.
Daryl Morey. So how confident are you about, since this is a GM-driven league, how confident are you about your guys' future?
I'm not, but that being said, Daryl Morey Daryl Morey's way more important to that team. Like, he runs that show.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. JT, thank you. I'm sorry I had to cut you off there. Thank you so much for the call, calling Perloff out. But no, I can tell when you're serious about something.
But there's no. I mean, any like high-end NBA podcast says I'm not making this take up. Look at every championship coach has gotten fired in the last few years. Does anyone care if Frank Vogel's your coach or not? He comes and goes. Like, that is not a big thing. Kenny Atkinson, come on.
Well,
these guys are as generic as ever. It is the era of the GM picks a team and the coach is totally irrelevant. Not as irrelevant as baseball. Like a computer could do what a baseball manager does now. Yeah, but it's getting close.
By the way, how dare you disrespect a legend from Real Canoe? Kenny Atkinson, team he played for. Nobody wants to follow me down this when I go into the Real Canoe stuff. I hate you guys. 888-710-4ISN. The guy played for a canoe club.
We'll get into it when you go to Madrid and you actually play for the team.
Okay, do coaches matter? That's interesting. Because Tibbs also got a lot of credit for turning things around at the Garden. And all of a sudden, now he doesn't matter.
Not on my social media feed. I've never seen a coach that was more embattled. Everyone hated Tibbs.
Listen, they loved him when they beat the Celtics. This is why fans are fans. You got to let the fans feel what they're feeling.
They're like, oh, my God, that guy got a stay of execution. Did they love him?
Well,
How could you love Tom Thibodeau, by the way?
He's not like a
he's not user-friendly.
Figure.
Although pictures of a young, handsome Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, I got those all over my phone.
My phone was loaded with, he had a strong mullet in the 90s. Strong mullet. And
big time party in the front. Business in the front, party in the back. Big time.
No, your love for Thibodeau now seems like maybe he has a rival, young Thibodeau, and somehow you guys have stumbled upon T.J. McConnell's sister, and it's getting a little weird. I know you've got side text threads. Why don't you move it over there? Maybe
I was actually going to say that.
You can make fun of AI Maggie Baby, and you can do your T.J. McConnell's sister stuff over there.
I bring it up.
I felt bad. I thought you'd be
I'm gonna leave.
interested in that. I was texting about. I had put Manny up to a hypothetical, Bogus, yesterday. Would you date T.J. McConnell's sister, who's quite attractive, despite the fact that she's on the hated Pacers? And you said?
The answer is yes.
Well, she's not. She plays for the Phoenix Mercury.
That's why.
But
I
if
hate
it was
T.J. McConnell,
but then
though.
I said if it was Tyrese Halliburton's sister.
Oh, hell no.
Non-starter.
The lies that are told on this show.
I wonder how many voices she has.
Manny would date would date Tyrese Halliburton's second cousin, twice removed college roommate, and you would die to do it.
No, I would actually rather die.
No, this
I
guy.
actually believe that.
Honestly, where's he going to
Believe it.
meet them? He's at home watching YouTube videos of the 1 year Carmelo's Knicks were good.
You are not incorrect.
Yeah. No, I think you underestimate.
I spend my time watching Kurt Thomas highlights.
Oh God.
Yeah.
How'd you find those?
You underestimate the dysfunction of this man when it comes to relationships, Maggie. I think he would genuinely say no to Tyrese Halliburton.
Relationship number one, the Knicks.
I just love that a bunch of men are going to sit around and tell me they wouldn't date somebody's attractive sister because you don't like them as an athlete. It's the biggest lie you will ever tell.
I would never lie on the radio.
Don't do this to the audience. You would date Reggie. You date Cheryl Miller.
I do.
And you'd be lucky to do so because she's in multiple Hall of Fames.
That I don't think is
Class act.
happening.
Maggie, I gotta disagree with Manny specifically. Manny would be so self-sabotaging that he would turn down
Trae Young's sister.
100%.
You know the vibes. Trae Young's sister? Get out of here. That guy who can't beat the Knicks? Get out of here. What a bunch of losers. Why would I want to be assimilated with them?
She could be perfect. She could love the Knicks more than him. She could love the Yankees. She could be. It doesn't matter. He's saying no.
Manny would leave the whole show for her.
That's cap. Maggie, that's such a lie.
Yeah.
This is, and by the way,
You're just over here having a whole soliloquy about people lying on the radio. You're lying on the radio right now.
no, I'm calling you guys out. I think that you would date any of these guys' sisters.
There's no you guys. I would. When I was single, that wouldn't even cross my mind. Manny's insane. By the way, Tyrese Halliburton, one of 4 boys. So you're safe on that front.
What about Pascal Siakam?
I consider it.
That's a
boy
tall
cooked
drink of
us.
water for you, though, man.
Hey, I like roller coasters. You know what I mean? Fun fact, I actually hate roller coasters, hate heights. But I'm down for the challenge.
I don't know how to make this a poll question, but no, you know what? Don't. 888-710-4ISN. Folks, can you hang with us? We shortchanged you here. We're going to take a quick break. We've got headlines for you in just a moment. We've got Cowboys news for you in just a moment. It's the Maggie and Perloff Show. Sit tight.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Perloff Show. So glad to have you. Are the Knicks going forward or backwards with the firing of Tom Thibodeau? Is this back to the dark ages of dysfunction? Or is this the best move that they could have done? Something that's going to put them over the top. And on top of that question, we're asking you today, is Dan Hurley the guy you want? Perloff loves Dan Hurley. You love this guy. You think he's a no-brainer that he'll be good in the NBA, and I think the exact opposite.
Well, I'm not sure I would say no-brainer good in the NBA, but I do think he is Coach K 2.0. I think he's outstanding. I think he's a great college coach. I know he's a little bit unhinged.
A little?
But also, too, but he's got a lot of Bob Knight in him in the sense that his players love him.
Yeah, but Bob Knight Bob Knight did coach, the Olympic team, but he was not going to be an NBA coach. That would have been the worst fit ever.
But Hurley is not full Bob Knight. He's kind of like 50% there. I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, you're right. Everybody thinks he's going to burn out in 50 games, but he's changed a little bit as he gets older. And he'll be older when he gets to the NBA. I'm not counting him out because I think he's a really good coach. And he's not Hurley, for God's sakes.
What does that mean?
I mean, his dad was the greatest high school coach of all time.
Right.
That's all it means.
Cool.
That we're at different levels
How's
here.
Bobby doing? 888
Bobby seems like Bobby's okay, right? Is he doing
They had to say he wasn't getting fired after this last season.
Yeah, I'd actually have more faith that John Shire could make the transition to the NBA before any of the Hurleys could.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd rather have John Shire as your coach than Dan Hurley?
I think so. Just for the temperament. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We've got Cowboy stuff, but first, Bogusch has all the latest headlines for us. A lot going on yesterday, Bogusch.
All sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. We may have to put Hunter Goodman on the Denver Mount Olympus.
Bender, first base side of the mound. There's a drive to left by Hunter Goodman. Stowers going back. It's out of here. Touch 'em all time. Hunter Goodman.
Jack Corrigan on Rockies Radio. Goodman with 3 homers and 4 RBI over the last 2 days in Miami. Both Rocky wins. 3-2 last night, giving Colorado its second set of back-to-back victories this season. Now 11 total wins. It's also the first time since late last season that the Rockies win a series. Interim manager Warren Schaefer.
That's big time for the boys to get that first series win. I mean, who would have known it wouldn't come till June, but the time is now, and I'm happy for him.
You know what they say, don't let the Rockies get hot.
The Rockies had lost 22 consecutive series going back to last season. Now they go for a 3-game sweep today.
Come on, Rockies.
The A's, meanwhile, are still losing. 8 straight, 19 of their last 20 after a 10-3 beating from the Twins. They have a minus 95 run differential over these last 20 games. The Padres rallying for a 3-2 win in 10 in San Francisco. The White Sox cooled off the Tigers 8-1. And the Astros 3-0 winners in Pittsburgh. Paul Skeens taking loss number 6. Despite allowing just a solo homer over 8, his ERA drops to 2.05.
Get that guy some help, please.
Or get him out of there. The Indiana Fever finally won without Caitlin Clark, snapping an overall 3-game skid, 85-76 over the Mystics. Kelsey Mitchell scored 23, and the Lynx stayed perfect, 88-65 over the Mercury. Minnesota is 8-0 for the 4th time in franchise history. The Minnesota Vikings mourning the loss of longtime D lineman Jim Marshall. He was 87, had been in the hospital for some time. Marshall was the NFL's Iron Man, playing in 282 consecutive games until Brett Favre passed him back in 2009. We finally get playoff action again tonight. The Stanley Cup Final beginning in Edmonton. Connor McDavid and the Oilers hoping the second time with the charm against the Panthers.
Just a little bit more comfortable, know what to expect. Said it after Game 5, it just feels less emotional. It's been less of a roller coaster, I would say. Just the whole thing feels more normal, which is a good thing.
The Panthers...
They're going to crush them, right?
No. Panthers are not crushable.
Panthers not crushable. Okay, that's strong. And I know that the Oilers have some injuries and stuff like that, Hyman and others. But, I mean, you have the Panthers who are playing in their 3rd straight Stanley Cup final. Just the fatigue alone that sets in with these seasons going so far. And then you have the emotional aspect of Edmonton not only trying to win the first one for McDavid, but also this is the last year with them, right?
All roads lead back to Canada and cups and
I'm
droughts.
telling you, the year of the drought buster, guys. Slump busters. Let's do it.
You should definitely bet on the Oilers. You're that confident?
I mean, they're
it's
the
like
favorite.
an even.
They're the favorite tonight.
24 hours ago, Maggie asked the group what we were more excited for, the Stanley Cup Final or the NBA Finals, because hockey involves Canada and the drought.
No. By the way, I'm winning with basketball no matter what. So the year of the drought buster, which I have said 2025, year of the drought buster, which got turned into the year of the slump buster because
Trademarks.
because of some trademark considerations and also because of the immaturity of the show.
Oh, right.
I'm winning with basketball no matter what.
But,
Pacers or OKC, I got a drought bust.
Can I just ask a question, though? Because when we first mentioned this, I think it was EJ that said that the Thunder are not technically the Sonics, but I keep seeing graphics
They're the Sonics.
about them not winning since the Sonics won. So what's the official ruling
That's
on
a great
that?
question. I always get confused on that.
No, so they technically are the same franchise that
Yes.
moved. Like you go to their basketball reference page, it'll say championships won.
Okay,
Like,
so then
franchise.
so this is ending a Seattle/OKC drought.
Yes.
That's the technical. It doesn't feel like that to me because of the way they left.
But sometimes too, I feel like it's negotiated. Like
Yeah, I
the
don't think there's a
Browns or
hard
the
and
new
fast rule.
like the Ravens, like that. That was a weird thing when the Browns came back. Like there's a times where these things have changed and they've decided that there is a continuation or there is not. So I feel like somebody needs to tell us what like the NBA's ruling on this is.
Well, for the year of the slump buster purposes,
there it is.
this is all good. Because at first, I was going to say teams that have never won don't really fall under slump busters.
I remember that.
So, and
That's
you
why the
guys were
Bills
like,
were
no,
eliminated.
it does still count. So I have both teams.
So wait, did the Pacers win an ABA one? Like
that doesn't matter.
What's their slump?
That does not matter,
The
believe
Pacers
me.
has never won. So that would be a first timer.
And that's won 2 ABA titles. That doesn't count. Come on now.
Well, I'm just saying, like, so wait, but there is that technicality we've discussed. Are first timers breaking a drought? Are we landed at yes?
You guys said yes. I was going to give you grace and say no, but if you're going to give it to me, then 2025 is barreling towards year of we are already in it, guys. It's June. I've had more drought busts.
Had one.
You're living a slump bust right now.
We've had
Look
one
around
professional
you, smell
championship
it.
this year. We've had one, and it was the Eagles, and then we could have the Panthers as the second professional championship.
Yeah, correct.
Well, the Eagles didn't apply here. There's always got to be one outlier. College basketball, Rory McIlroy. Now it's going to be hoops. If Canada wins, I'm game, set, match on this thing. It's the best take I've ever had.
Canada's a great one. I still don't know how much we're giving you for men's college basketball because nobody outside Gainesville was missing Florida winning national titles.
It counts.
Don't you need other people to tell you it's the best take you ever had?
What do you think?
When you're telling it, it's like that automatically downgrades you.
This is like giving yourself your own nickname.
But would my nickname be the slump buster?
Hey.
I don't think I want that one.
That's not what I meant.
I'd wear the T-shirt though. No, this is a self-proclaimed.
Oh, you don't say.
Listen, sometimes in this world, you just got to reach out and grab the credit. You can't wait around and wait for people to understand your genius and recognize it. Sometimes you got to let the world know.
I think that's
this is what's happening.
I think that's what Leon Rose said yesterday after he pulled the trigger on.
No, never heard the guy. It's a phantom. Never going to hear from him. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. I'm like, my summer is planned off this slump buster thing.
What are you going on a tour? What do you mean?
Yes.
Summer's planned.
Next stop, Milwaukee, Green Bay.
You're siding thing somewhere?
Yeah, people lined up around the block to just be like, you know what, Max? Good one.
Yeah, I mean,
Atta girl.
yeah.
That's on the back.
Yeah. We did
Remember when
not.
you said Coach K was going to coach the Lakers? Well, you were wrong on that one, but you're right on this one.
Yeah, I mean, when those Florida Gators broke that slump from 2007,
Finally.
that was America
The
could
villagers
breathe
rejoiced.
again.
Yeah.
I was only in elementary school.
Doesn't matter. Nobody cared about it when Florida won in 2007. Nobody cared this year either. But
Yeah, no, I forgot the
a
Florida
football
one.
school happens to win random basketball titles is barely even breaks the news cycle on ESPN.com.
Can you imagine if Bama had one?
We just want to know if DJ Lagway is going to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Florida's got some serious football issues. So
That's a drought.
that's a drought. That matters.
Yeah, there you go.
Just wait. Listen, Ohio State technically counted.
Florida's going to win the national championship?
Let me think about it.
Tim
Sure.
Tebow ain't walking through that door.
That's all right. Lagway's a better quarterback.
Who would be the drought buster for college football? Like, who's like the famous drought now?
Penn State.
Nebraska,
Penn
probably. Penn State, Nebraska. I don't think that's going to happen. But
Well, Penn State's a good one. They're number one.
yeah, that means terrible things are waiting for them. Just kidding, Manny. You don't want to be the Heisman frontrunner
Why
in June, though.
yuck my yums?
Because it's fun. 888-710-4ISN. Okay, coming up, we've got Cowboys news for you in just moments. You want to hear this?
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, stop me if you you heard this before. Cowboys are going to come into their mandatory OTAs with a big contract looming over the team. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff Pro. Good morning. This time it's Micah Parsons, something that should have been the biggest no-brainer of all time, where both sides, well, actually, I'm not going to both sides this thing, where the Cowboys are making this far more complicated than it needs to be, which reminds me of CeeDee Lamb, and it reminds me even of Dak Prescott. Although Prescott, I could see actually trying to figure out a good number here. Cowboys end up overpaying anyway, and they're paying him $60 million. The Micah Parsons thing just means is just so silly to me, and they're going to drag this thing out until a couple days before the season starts, and I don't get it.
Really? You think that it's I'm curious, a no-brainer that you make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, without even a doubt?
You want to know why? Because they said it.
Yeah, but
they said
forget
they were
what they
gonna
said.
do it.
They're Cowboys. They say a lot of things. You really think this is the one guy who deserves? Yeah, I can see why the Cowboys are hesitating. I would try to talk him down off that number.
Let's hear from Brian Schottenheimer, please. Assuming that Micah Parsons is going to be at minicamp?
I would assume. Mike and I talked a couple of days ago. Again, he's doing a little bit of traveling. But again, everything that he and I have talked about, I expect that he will be here. And like I said, I say it each and every week. Mike and I have had great communication, everything I've asked him to do and vice versa. He's followed through on, so I would expect to see him.
Okay, so that's the Cowboys head coach. Here's why I think this is the no-brainer to pay Parsons. This is what happens when you do draft well. You drafted a guy who ended up becoming and has the potential to be really one of the great pass rushers in the league. Okay?
Awesome.
These are not the guys you mess around with. These are not the guys you try to nickel and dime. These are not the guys where you try to get on the margins and on the edges. This is somebody who you actually have what you want, which is you're paying for future performance. This is not a retirement contract. It's not thanks for the memories contract. It's not we're not sure how you're going to be contract. You know what Parsons is going to be. You know he's going to be productive. So this is why you pay a guy now. You drag it out and drag it out. The price only goes up and up and up for a guy like him.
I think you have to talk Parsons off that number. I'm being serious here. Like Micah Parsons, you're the face of the team and you're a defensive player. Just do like Josh Allen, take a little bit less to help us out. Like you cannot, if you go $42 million, you're going to mess up this cap and we're not going to be as good around you. So you have to tell Micah Parsons, listen, if you help us build a Super Bowl champion, you will get as much love as you could possibly ever need. You'll be fine. So do not hold out for every penny and go above Ja'Marr Chase and be the highest paid non-quarterback. Honestly, like you have to negotiate with this guy. I know what you're saying. You're right. The price probably will go up. But you got to try to convince him to be more reasonable.
No. This is not how that stuff works, right? The way you manage your cap is when you have cost certainty. The way you manage your cap is when you don't have Dak Prescott making $60 million, when you're not sure how much Joe Milton you may actually see this year. With Micah Parsons, the earlier you get ahead of these things, the more certainty you have, the more restructuring you can do, the more you can fudge the money a little bit and make it work for all sides. The waiting around and eventually the player's going to have you over a barrel because that's exactly how all these negotiations work with the Cowboys.
But he definitely came in and said, give me $45 million or something.
Well, actually, funny enough, he did say that he would take like a team-friendly deal, which is why I also throw this back on the Cowboys. You have a guy who may be willing to play ball with you. I don't think he has to, by the way. I think he could hold out for every penny. But he does seem like he's willing to play ball, and you still can't get the contract done, and we're still not sure if he's going to show up to OTAs.
Well, he's showing up to OTAs, right?
No, showed up, but no, he's traveling now, they're saying, right?
Oh, I think
he showed up for some other voluntary thing.
Oh, okay. I saw a headline. He's attending mini camps, but he's questionable for training camp. So,
I mean, that's not great. And he's traveling, which is hilarious because we can only imagine. Was he like looking for Genghis Khan's tomb? He could be anywhere in the world, but that's fine. His offseason's his offseason, but I just think that you have a guy who may be willing to play ball. Yeah. You have a guy who you know you're paying for future performance. All these things are lining up. And what, is Jerry going to give us some BS line about waiting for more leaves to fall from the trees or whatever? Like, it's just maddening if you're a Cowboy fan.
But I hear what you're saying. But they're going to sign him in August. We all know what's going to happen here. He's going to get $41 million to top 41, maybe 42. I just think that you got to, if you mention a team-friendly deal, you got to talk him down a little bit. Say, Micah, you'll get so much benefit from winning a Super Bowl here. Do not do this to our salary cap.
Winning a Super Bowl, I'm not.
Well, that's what you
where'd
say.
You get that?
That's what you say. But honestly, if you're paying Dak Prescott 60, CeeDee Lamb is the second highest wide receiver, and Micah Parsons is the highest defensive end, I mean, you're going to have trouble building out a roster. I know the salary cap is somewhat imaginary, but that's the most on 3 players by far in any team in the league. There's not even a close second.
It's fair. And you want to know when we all foresaw this problem happening for the Cowboys? Like, I don't know, 4 years ago, where you had years to plan that you knew you were going to have one of the highest paid wide receivers. Right. You knew you were going to have one of the highest paid edge rushers, and then they decided to give Dak Prescott that insane contract.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all those deals.
Like
there was no way out
of
of the CeeDee Lamb deal. There was no way out. Dak, that one, I see what you're saying. Like injury history, maybe they should have not given him 60. Maybe they should move on from him. But what are you supposed to do? I mean,
but again, I don't feel bad for the Cowboys about this because they've had years to plan. And this is like the thing where we give them so much credit because they draft well. Well, here's what happens. You want to draft like the Jets and their players never get to a second contract. Fantastic. Then you're never paying anybody big money. But when you actually do draft well, this is kind of like it's technically supposed to be the reward. Like you're supposed to be able to have these good players for a long time to help winning. And so you can't be surprised or blindsided that all of a sudden you've got expensive players.
What are you doing then, Maggie, if you run the Cowboys and Micah Parsons' agent comes in and says, David Mulgeta, who drives a very hard bargain, I want $41 million a year for 5 years.
Take it. And
so
by the way, Jerry said
that's what's going to happen. And that's happening anyway.
Jerry said he had no idea who the agent was. Remember that?
Yeah.
Again, unnecessarily complicating this stuff. But can I bring up something?
But that's definitely going to happen. So that'll make you happy. See, I'm not thrilled if I'm a Cowboy fan when that goes down.
Well, why do you play hardball with this guy? Like, what's the reason?
To get down off that number.
To get off a couple $1 million when, by the way, you can just sign them and then you can start manipulating signing bonuses and all these other things that every team does whose team gets expensive to try to move the money around.
Well, then if you start doing that, then eventually you're going to pay the piper like the Saints. And, the Cowboys already have these future cap problems. Like you're going to renegotiate and all of a sudden your team is going to have nobody on it and you have half your cap going to CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott, who will probably be retired at 34. That is not a good thing, honestly. I'm not sure Parsons should be the highest paid. Again, I think Cowboys have a reason to say, dude, you can't do this to us.
So you're welcome to weigh in on this at 888-710-4ISN. Is Micah Parsons the player you play hardball with in a contract negotiation? I'd love to hear from the Cowboy fans on that one. But secondly about this, and this is something where you and I don't necessarily see this eye to eye, you give them the highest paid contract. Let's just say for argument's sake they get there.
Yeah, 41. It's going to happen.
He doesn't become less of a thing on your team after that, right? So
yes, he does.
Well, paying somebody money just makes someone more of what they already are, right? It doesn't. They say it changes people. It makes you more of what you are. He thinks he's a leader.
Right.
He thinks that he should be commenting on everything in football with the podcast. Technically, a media executive with Bleacher Report, whatever. We all kind of roll our eyes at that. But, whatever. It's on the resume. You're getting more Micah Parsons, not less. And this is where you and I, you don't see defensive players as being guys who are capable of really leading teams.
Well, right.
And that's where you and I disagree. Like, I think you make Parsons, you get everything with Parsons. You make him the highest paid player on your non-quarterback, and that's emboldening. That's empowering. That's I'm the face of the team right up there with Jerry and Dak.
He's already got all that.
Yeah, I'm just saying you're getting more of it, not less.
I don't know if there is possible. I think he's already maxed out on that. But you are definitely getting less of a player if you pay him $41 million. I'll tell you why. Because next year in free agency, when there's somebody to rush on the other side of the ball, they ain't getting him. So all of a sudden, and this is Micah's main problem in Dallas, like, how do you stop the Cowboys defense? You put 2 guys on Micah Parsons and you're dead. So honestly, and the same thing on offense. How do you stop the Cowboys offense? You put 2 guys on CeeDee Lamb and you're dead. So they had to get George Pickens as a bargain. But they obviously, Pickens was not ideal. They'd like to pay for a second guy. If you put all your money into these 3 guys, you're not going to get enough talent around to maximize them.
Okay.
You're just going to block the heck out of Micah Parsons.
Can I bring up something, though, that you always bring up in free agency, and it's a really smart thing, which is there's a reason sometimes why some guys get to free agency. Sometimes it can be fortuitous, and you get an awesome guy in his prime, and you pay pay premium. Hello. But other times you're getting someone flawed. So you're asking, are the Cowboys, if they pay Parsons, are they going to be basically swimming in the deep water for big free agents? They don't do that anyway. And that might not be a smart way to build your team anyway.
Well,
you want to draft well next to Micah Parsons, and then we're back in the cycle of you draft well, then you got to pay the guys. But
they
that's
can't
the
bring in
real
anybody.
way to
Like
do
who
it.
else? Who else is rushing the passer for them? That's the problem. The Chiefs often bring in a guy. The Eagles always bring in a guy. Like that's where you spend your
draft over and over again on that defensive line.
right. But they brought in the Eagles brought in Bryce Huff. Did not work out.
He didn't even play.
The Chiefs and the Niners always bring in like a Frank Clark or somebody like that. There's always these pass rushers that come in. That's where you load up.
Okay,
right?
but that's also cheap. Like you can do
Not
that.
that cheap.
Well, but that's like it's manageable. Right? That would be like going in
Cowboys
all in for
can't do it.
Myles Garrett or something, which didn't end up happening. He ends up re-signing with the Browns anyway. But
Yeah,
they wouldn't have done much. They wouldn't have been in the mix for Myles Garrett, even if he was available.
I'm not talking about Myles Garrett. You're going to have to go down a level. And also, too, it's not just bringing in free agents. It's who can you keep. You definitely have to. So the Cowboys had to say goodbye to DeMarcus Lawrence. Maybe they wanted to. Maybe they thought he was
Yeah, a
injury
little
prone.
older. Yeah.
But generally, if you have $60 million in Dak, $40 million, $41 million in Micah, and $35 million in CD, you got a problem on your hands. Will you admit that at least?
It's a problem. I would say good problem. There's no such thing. But it's a problem that you saw coming years ago because these guys have turned out to be awesome draft picks. I think the bigger thing, if you're asking who do you nickel and dime, who do you play hardball with, and that's the question today at 888-710-4ISN. Do you play hardball with Micah Parsons? You should have played more hardball with Dak. He's gotten over on Jerry Jones like 3 different times now in the course of his NFL career. He's going to make it into one of those sports business Hall of Fame things.
Yeah, but Dak is performing. I'm not sure I totally agree with that. The other thing, too, when you wait on that contract, they got a lot of bargain years out of Dak. A lot of bargain years. They got a lot of cheap Dak. So now they're paying. But I agree, they should not have done that deal now that we look back on it. But that's easy to say now that he got hurt.
Well, can I also give you another what if, right? Like if you put a poll question out, maybe we will for Cowboy fans. Who do you think gets you closer to a Super Bowl, Dak Prescott or Micah Parsons? And I know defensive players are limited because they don't have the ball in their hands every time. But I'm thinking that poll would probably go the way that these Mount Olympus polls have gone for Perloff, which is
one-sided.
He's really wiping the floor with me, which we'll get to in a minute.
Wait, what's the question here?
Who gets you closer to a Super Bowl, Dak Prescott or Micah Parsons? Yeah. I think Micah's going to win that poll.
Right, but
I think Cowboy fans are over Dak. Been over Dak.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's 31 and gets hurt every year. I think the entire world is over Dak. But the thing about Micah and TJ Watt and these guys, the Steelers are playing hardball with TJ Watt, which is interesting. It's, again, I kind of get it. I think I look at Belichick and I look at Howie Roseman. You got to play hardball. Like, honestly, I think the Steelers, I get it because I argued against you on this one. Like, if they were really being Machiavellian, they would just say goodbye to TJ Watt. If the Cowboys were really being tough, like dynasty building, they would say, I'm not paying $41 million for an undersized pass rusher. Like, there are tough choices to make in this NFL, Maggie. You can't just pay everybody and be kumbaya. You gotta play hardball at some point.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Say good morning to everyone in the chat on YouTube and Twitch. Good morning. We're still working out. The Twitter live stuff has been a little bit of pain in the you-know-what, but we will get that resolved very, very soon. Sirius XM 375. We got a new channel. We love it. Come join us there. The free Odyssey app, you can download it. It's crystal clear. If you ever find yourself driving and the service is going in and out, it's a little spotty, Odyssey app takes care of all that. It's also got the rewind function. And, of course, our affiliates who we love, we're obsessed with. Top of the hour, we go back to the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the 4 sports gods from every great sports city in this country and parts of Canada. I don't love the way this is going so far. I mean, I love how we're doing it, and I love everyone's commitment, and it's been really overwhelmingly positive. It's just we've been putting out these polls of who's got the better Mount Olympus, and I'm shocked by how much Perloff is winning these by.
Are you?
Because I went with Steve Yzerman over Gordie Howe. Like this is gonna bury me forever.
Mm-hmm. You left Mickey Mantle and Joe D off your New York.
I put Babe Ruth and George Steinbrenner on there.
Well, I put Babe Ruth too, but I'm saying like you're going against the grain with your picks.
Well, I didn't want to do 3 Yankees and Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, that didn't go over well.
Actually, New York is the one I think I got the closest
No, we did a
on.
poll. You lost 87-13.
This is insanity. How am I getting whitewashed like this?
Because you're being contrarian, and I love it. I can't wait to see what weirdo you put on this Wisconsin one.
87-13 is incredible.
Yeah, I know. This is really tough.
Looking like the Colorado Rockies out there, Maggie. Come on.
But you can't stop. You gotta.
They've won 2 in a row. I don't even think I'm going to get to the Rockies right now.
Your Mount Olympuses are so much more interesting than mine. Like, I'm going chalk, and you're bringing Gary Payton into Portland. That's the third city that he should be on.
Maggie's putting in Dan Orlovsky into the game. 0-16 Lions.
And I'm running out the back of the end zone.
Can't step on the white stuff.
I cannot wait to see what happens with Green Bay, Milwaukee.
So this was a tough one because
she's got Ryan Braun on her list.
No, that's the
all-time
the
leading home run hitter on
Hades.
Milwaukee Brewers.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to do our anti-Mount Olympus. We just don't have a good name for it yet. The Heels, the biggest villains of every sports city.
I love throwing random names out there. Nestor Cortez on the Mount Olympus of Milwaukee legends.
I think that I'm going to have a better shot today. I slept on it. I actually changed it this morning, which I have not done yet. So sorry about that.
Oh, I can't wait to see who you change off of.
Yeah,
did you have?
Okay,
just tell us. Did you have any sort of wild card picks? Something that we wouldn't expect.
I don't think so. I didn't think Gary Payton was that far out of the box.
Gary Payton? You didn't think that was outside the box?
Name another Oregon State basketball player.
I can't.
Exactly.
But it's a Mount Rushmore of.
It's Mount Olympus.
Mount Olympus. Like, that doesn't mean you don't have to represent every college. Like, how are you going to do Wisconsin?
Well, I thought about Barry Alvarez. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't put Madison in. It's not Madison. It's Milwaukee and it's Green Bay. But we said Portland, and if you're going to put Eugene in there, Corvallis is technically closer to Portland. That's why I put Gary Payton on.
Technically closer to Milwaukee than Green Bay.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest. I never made the trip from Milwaukee to Madison.
Do you have someone from University of Wisconsin on your list?
I have no college people on any of my lists because the athletes only go there for 4 years. To get on a Mount Olympus, I think you have to be a professional athlete.
Okay, but didn't you just put Bill Walton yesterday on your Mount Olympus in Portland, and he was only there for 4 years?
But he won an NBA title in a city that only has one team, an NBA team. So I think that promotes him above everything. Oregon State, as you said, made an incredible achievement. They made the tournament 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
You actually said that on
What have they done since?
You made the tournament? What is this? Like, are we going to have somebody from Drexel? Like, what is
Gary Payton was the second overall pick. I'm going to fight this one to the day I die. I don't know if it's Gary Payton is the worst one in your eyes or the Steve Eiserman over Gordie Howe.
No. It's Gary Payton.
We are geography whizzes over here on this show, obviously.
Yeah.
Milwaukee to Madison, 70, we'll call it 80 miles.
Okay, that's close.
Milwaukee to Green Bay, 116.
Okay, so it all counts. I don't have anyone from the University of Wisconsin on my list.
You did make a mistake. You have to admit, you did make a little mistake yesterday.
What's that?
When you said Dame Lillard's more Oakland.
Okay, this is what I said about that.
Dame Lillard came up going to Gary Payton camps in Oakland.
This is what I said about that. Not that he's more Oakland. I understand that Dame Lillard is obviously Blazers through and through. Never made a finals, though. So that's why, obviously, Clyde got on there because he won, and I even would have put other Blazers on. But here's the thing. I was saying that there's a Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, who you got in Oakland. That was my point. That's an actual thing that exists. This is how much Dame Lillard actually is associated with Oakland, is that some people are Steph people and some people are Dame people. That's a real thing. I know that's true. Not for Mount Olympus of
Did
Portland.
anybody follow what she just said? You're fighting. You lost the Gary Payton one. Just take the L.
Yeah,
because you'll probably get me today. The odds are you're going to win today.
I'm due.
Today, I do not like my construction. This is an incredibly challenging one.
Milwaukee, Green Bay, Madison. This is hard.
Eau Claire, Whitewater.
I know.
Lacrosse, Wisconsin
Rapids.
Rapids.
Yeah, this one. By the way, just
Waterloo.
Forget yesterday. We were moving past Portland.
Okay.
Did you have trouble with this one? Because I did.
I said it's the only one I've changed in the morning.
Yeah,
I
this
slept on
one,
it. I drove into work and I was like, it doesn't feel right. I had to change it.
Yeah, I think you have to fight your contrarian nature and go chalk and conservative, and I don't think you can do it.
It's really hard.
I think you'd rather be interesting than right.
Anybody from Kenosha make the list?
Am I right about Maggie's instinct here? Like, she could have the 4 obvious choices in there, and she's gonna be like, "What's the point?" You can't help it.
Well, and maybe because I've been sitting next to Mr. Against the Grain for the last 4
I know,
years,
but this
you
one,
rubbed off on me a little bit.
I'm like, I want to go chalk here. You're like, you can't do it. You're like, everyone's going to say this. I'm going to say this. I know it, and you can't help it.
Again, I thought about Barry Alvarez.
Everybody's picking the 1 seed. I'm going to go with UMBC.
And how did that work out?
Not as well. Well, it worked out better than what's working for you right now.
Fair. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So the Mount Olympus of Milwaukee / Green Bay / Madison. Apologies for our terrible geography there. Which is actually doubly sad because I've been to Green Bay and Madison multiple times.
Yeah, as have I.
Yeah, that's a bad job by me.
Love you, Quick Trip.
I wish they'd become a sponsor of the show.
So do I.
888-710.
Do I.
For ISN. So that's top of the hour. We'll do our Mount Olympus, Milwaukee, and Green Bay. Our expert will chime in later on in the show to tell us what we got right and what we got wrong about that Mount Olympus. Coming up next, one new NFL head coach is taking a completely different approach to what he's changing about his team than anyone I've seen. I do not remember this specific thing being such a big deal with any other coach. Why does he think it's important to his team? Tell you about that next, M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Remaining.
Remember Bolo Brazo, I grew out of wrestling. I was 12 or 13, I stopped watching TV. I moved out of the house, we sold the TV. I think I went to school and watched less wrestling. Bob Custer in Nevada. 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 Remember him, or are you too young? I don't know where he is, but I don't care. He had curly hair, he always wore a tie. He always wore a tie, I don't know why. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Do you remember him? Or remember Bolo Brazo, I grew out of wrestling. I was 12 or 13, I stopped watching TV. I moved out of the house, we sold the TV. I think I went to school and watched less wrestling. Bob Custer in Nevada. 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 Do you remember him, or are you too young? I don't know where he is, but I don't care. He had curly hair, he always wore a tie. He always wore a tie, I don't know why. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Bob Custer in Nevada. Do you remember him? Or remember Bubba Brazel? I grew out of wrestling. I was 12 or 13, I stopped watching TV. I moved out of the house, we sold the TV. I think I went to school and watched less wrestling.
30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. Just getting my victory speech ready for when we put a poll up for Mount Olympus. Later today, we're doing the 4 sports gods from every major city. Today is Milwaukee, Green Bay, and I guess you could put in all of Wisconsin for that one. Tough one because there's a certain team in that state that's won a lot of championships, and it ain't the Brewers. Yeah. So that was a little tough. I got to tell you, growing up, like the Brewers was always, I like this helmet. I like everything about the Brewers. Brewers is one of those teams we all like, I think, because they've never really beaten any of our teams in key moments. They actually, I think they might have beaten the Phillies. But regardless.
Except for that one painful moment for you.
The Brewers, that's a lovable team, right? Bob Uecker, Brew Crew.
I thought about putting Uecker on my Mount Olympus. I really did.
Oh, of course. Yeah, he definitely would be on there.
He felt like a godlike
Mr. Milwaukee.
figure. Yeah, no doubt. And I guess I don't remember Uecker from the Johnny Carson appearances, but I obviously went back and watched a lot of them after he passed away not that long ago. That Johnny Carson used to call him Mr. Baseball.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but
well, I mean, listen, he stole the movie Major League, and I think was he in Major League 2 and 3?
Oh, I'm sure
he was definitely in Major League 2. But oh god, Uecker was an all-time guy. I met him once. Amazing.
Oh, just lived up to the hype even in person? That's a big part about being a sports god, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, also, to the behind-the-scenes story. Have you ever heard?
Yeah, Artie Lang.
Yeah. The Artie Lang. And the Norm Macdonald stories, too. A great guy. But, I don't think the problem is you have another team there. The Packers have a lot of titles. So can you put Uecker on there over whoever?
Speaking of sports movies, did you guys happen to see some photos of Nicolas Cage that came out recently?
You mean the John Madden photos?
Yeah. So Nicolas Cage, I didn't even know this movie was happening. Nicolas Cage in a fat suit looks like a spitting image of John Madden, and Christian Bale's going to play Al Davis.
Gosh, it's funny. I read that picture. I'm like, wow, Christian Bale looks a lot like Al Davis, and that is Nicolas Cage in full Nicolas Cage. He doesn't look a thing like anyone except Nicolas Cage.
You don't think that he was channeling Madden
Pull
here?
that photo up. I got to tell you, I wonder. He looks a little like Madden, but it looks very much like Nicolas Cage. Christian Bale, you would have no idea who that was.
I don't know, dude. He looks pretty similar.
You think he doesn't look like Nick Cage?
No, I see the Nick
Look
Cage
at the
in him,
side
but I
view.
mean,
That's Madden.
it looks pretty Madden.
Oh, we saw different pictures.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
There it is.
I think Nicolas Cage is going to nail this thing.
Did you guys see the original photo that came out that they put out of Nicolas Cage standing next to Christian Bale as Al Davis?
Yes, they have this in this article, too. It's here on page 6. Yeah, I don't even recognize Bale. You're right about that. But he also gets to wear those tinted Al Davis glasses, which kind of make him...
I'm looking at this photo now.
Look at this one. From the long angle view. You're getting the bad angles. You got to judge them by the good angles.
The one on the front, this is Nicolas Cage with a wig that barely looks like, it doesn't look a thing like a John Madden.
But John Madden's hair kind of looked like that, you know?
Yeah, but
he was kind of disheveled, a little unkempt. That was part of his charm.
I'm sorry, he's a great all-time actor, but there is nobody that Nicolas Cage can play and not be Nicolas Cage. He is so Nicolas Cage.
But who's not going to look like themselves being John Madden? Like that, I think. Like I see.
Certain actors are too charismatic on their own right. Like they can't act. They're just Nicolas Cage in every movie, National Treasure, etc. Right. Like Nicolas Cage, I think it's going to be hard to see anyone except Nicolas Cage.
Well, fair, because the last Nicolas Cage movie that I watched was literally him playing a version of himself with Pablo Pascal in it. It was great.
Exactly.
I actually really enjoyed that movie, and I'm blanking on the name right now. But I got very excited for this Madden movie when I saw the.
I'm surprised you missed it until now because casting him was a big story.
I totally was out on this, but I'm excited to see it.
But you have to be Christian Bale. Like you wouldn't, in 1,000 years, you would not know that was Christian Bale.
And I have full confidence that Bale's going to nail the accent. You know, Al Davis had a very distinct accent.
Yeah, it's funny too because would Christian Bale even know who Al Davis was? Not at all.
Well, I mean, you do the research.
Right. I'm just saying, like, he's not, I don't think he's a sports fan. He's definitely British. Like, this is a funny stretch to play Al Davis, who's very American in my mind. Like, that's a weird thing. I get Nick Cage as John Madden. I think Nick Cage is from San Francisco, like, probably worshiped Madden as a kid. Christian Bale's a surprise to me.
You know what we should do once this movie comes out? We should watch it, and we should have Amy Trask come on and rate the performances. Obviously, she's the former CEO of the Raiders. She was Al Davis's right-hand woman for so many years. She would be able to give a good assessment.
But you didn't like the director's other football movie, Silver Linings Playbook, right?
I'm just not a huge fan of David O. Russell to begin. I didn't like American Hustle.
Oh,
Silver Linings Playbook was fine.
I love that movie. I didn't love some of his movies, but I loved American Hustle. Silver Linings Playbook was the most accurate Eagles movie you will ever see. Those people exist. That is South Philly.
I know. I'm sitting next to one of them.
No. But that is like the guy who, like, basically everybody has to sit in the right place for the game. That is the entire city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, a lot of cops involved.
Yeah.
The police are called often, which is weird.
Don't want to visit there.
Joe is in San Francisco, wants to bring up the Dame Lillard, Gary Payton in Oakland. Yeah, I put Gary Payton on my Mount Olympus of Oregon athletes because of his college career at Oregon State. Obviously, I'm getting some blowback for that. What's up, Joe?
Man, look, I'm from the Bay Area, man, so they not going to turn their back on Dame. They not. And if you had a poll like who would you take as a point guard, Steph Curry or Damian Lillard, especially a couple years ago when Curry got hurt, they wanted Damian Lillard to come to Oakland. It just didn't happen. But, they like Dame out here in Oakland.
See, that's what I'm trying to tell Perloff, that it wasn't that I was not putting Dame. I didn't put Dame on my Portland Mount Olympus, but I was just saying there's a love for Dame in Oakland that is really deep, that even he and Steph Curry, like, that's a rivalry just because Dame's from there.
Yeah. When Dame was in Oakland, he did a lot of stuff for the youth, a lot of stuff for the public. They like him out here, man. And Gary Payton was the same way when Gary was here. They love Gary.
Yeah.
Gary's still there, right? Doesn't Gary do a ton in Oakland still?
Yeah, Gary do a lot of stuff out of Oakland. Yup. And what I was going to tell you is, hey, have you ever seen Trouble with the Curve?
With Clint Eastwood? Is that the Clint Eastwood one? No, I have seen it. It's a baseball movie, right? I can't remember which one that was.
Yep, that's a baseball movie when Clint Eastwood was the scout for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay, so you seen what happened when the GM got it wrong, right?
No, what happened?
He blamed it on the area scout. But he got fired anyway. So what I'm telling you is, when you was talking about that GM stuff, like firing these coaches and stuff and winning championships and stuff like that, they just doing damage control because really they the ones about to get fired.
Oh, yeah. So you think, I see where you're going with that, Joe. Thank you for the call. You think that all of a sudden Leon Rose, the general manager of the Knicks in this instance, was starting to feel a little of the heat. So he's like, all right, I'll fire Thibodeau, and that will take some of the heat off of me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I get how that normally happens. I don't think that's what happened here.
Yeah, I don't think Leon Rose's seat is hot.
I don't think it's hot, and I think the owner came in and did everything here. Ray is in Saskatoon. Ray, good morning.
Good morning. I'm about 8 hours north of Billings, Montana. It's a straight drive north, about 8 hours. So that's where we are.
Was it 42 degrees there right now?
Beautiful country.
Yeah, probably it's about 42 Fahrenheit, probably about 5-6 Celsius is what we call it way up here. But I am in the hometown of Gordie Howe, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Oh, no.
Maggie.
Oh, no.
Maggie.
Yes.
Really?
Ray.
Eiserman over Howe? Really?
Okay, here was my logic at the time, Ray, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, including Mr. Hockey. I get it. But here's why I put him on the Mount Olympus of Detroit, is because not only did Eiserman obviously won titles in Detroit, was also there 22 years, full career. He's won as a GM in the front office. He's currently the GM of the Red Wings, and he helped them win even after he had retired. How do you get you can't be more dedicated than that.
Oh, you can when you're Gordie Howe and you're playing. You were the Iron Man up until a few years ago. Absolutely, he spent close to 4 decades in Detroit playing hockey. So there's one thing to be in an office, Maggie. It's another thing to be on the ice. But of course, the other thing we're keeping an eye on here, of course, is the fact that Chris Knobloch, his hometown is about an hour from where I am here in Saskatoon. And, of course, he's the coach of the Oilers, and that big Oiler-Panther series starts tonight as well.
So excited for this. I told these guys I'm more excited for the Stanley Cup final than the NBA final. Ray, thank you for the call and enjoy the gorgeous,
Ray has
scenery
a point.
in Saskatoon.
How can you be more dedicated to the Detroit Red Wings than Steve Eiserman? How about you play there from 1932 to 1982?
Listen, Eiserman, also 22 years, multiple titles.
Gordie had more than 20. BC's the first way. It was 40s, 50s, 60s, 4 decades. He's the first 4-decade star.
I'm just saying you still have – it's not like Eiserman is this terrible choice. He's continued to help the organization.
He'd be great alongside Gordie Howe on the same wing with Gordie Howe, but you can't put him over Gordie Howe.
I want to just also point to one thing here. So I'm looking at the schedule of the here we go. The rest of the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff.
Went Saskatoon.
I'm looking for it. EJ funny, he didn't put it on the list.
I want to see how many Rough Riders get on the list.
But we are getting parts of Canada. Don't worry, that will happen as part of this tour. I just want to give a little attention here because I know we're on in the Bay Area. June 16th is when we'll be doing the Mount Olympus of San Francisco and Oakland. So for Joe and for all of our pals in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I'm curious. Does anyone Oakland make that list? That's a big area. There are a lot of teams in those.
Al
two
Davis,
areas.
John Madden.
Jason Giambi.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, what about the Warriors? They played in Oakland forever up until a couple years ago.
Don't think they make it.
You got all Niners?
You got the Giants and their Bonds. You got the Giants.
Are you telling me? Okay. Well, this is June 16th. That's a Monday, by the way.
John Fisher.
But, well, Steph, the Warriors in Oakland, yeah, I guess so. But it's going to be tough because you got the Niners and you got two of the most famous baseball players of all time.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Those are, to me, two distinct places. I know that they are the Bay Area, but you could certainly...
think we should separate them?
You could separate them.
That's interesting. And in Oakland, you go like Reggie Jackson or something and
Chris Davis.
Do the old A's. And
and some Raiders and some
I think the Warriors are definitely Oakland.
Yes.
But they used to be, yeah.
Well, but the new arena is like brand new.
Right, but they were called the Golden State Warriors. They weren't called the Oakland Warriors like the Oakland Raiders.
Right, but Golden State's also not San Francisco.
Yes, but they didn't have San Francisco didn't have another team in San Francisco. Like in football, you had the Oakland Raiders and San Francisco 49ers. Basketball, you just had one team for the whole Bay Area.
Okay.
So I think that's why they called them Golden State.
But where the arena was technically in Oakland for all those years.
Yeah.
No, technically you're absolutely right. But I just think that if you're doing Oakland, I think you would do Oakland A's and Oakland Raiders would jump to mind, to me, because their name is Oakland.
Should we separate them?
No, I guess that Perloff's point here is a good one, that if you do separate them, then like the Warriors do like straddle both cities, where the other ones are the more, I guess, a more clear divide.
This is what makes this fun and hard.
And actually, I don't even know this. When the Warriors moved from Philly, were they first in Oakland? I don't even know. That was
Manny, you're Mr.
60
Stadium.
years ago.
What was going on what year did they move?
1960?
67,
Girl,
60 something?
What? History began in 97. You're asking me about something that happened 30 years before that?
Okay.
It's sad that you think that, and I know you actually think that.
So they played in San Francisco for 4 years, Cow Palace for a while. I don't know where that's also, yeah. So anyway, that'll be a fun one. That's a hard city.
These are impossible.
These
We're going
are
to do Milwaukee and Green Bay today, and this is impossible.
You know what the hard part is? 4.
Well, that's why it's Mount Olympus.
If it was, well, there are 12 gods on Olympus. If we did 12, that would help.
I'd help a lot. Help Maggie's case. Then there'd be room for Gary Payton in Portland.
There would be just more weird selections. Okay, we will pause on Bogues for a second. We'll get back to your phone calls and also headlines, but we need to get to a new head coach coming into an NFL team and making their presence known, but in a way that I've never really seen before. And quite frankly, I don't know if this is going to work. Maggie and Perloff Show. Sit tight.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Alright, stop, collaborate and listen. I sit back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a hawk.
Welcome back.
Daily and nightly.
Manny discovers Vanilla Ice.
I don't know.
This is the second day in a row I think we've played this song. Is there a reason behind this?
No, we played him on Monday for Dallas because he's from Dallas. Dallas.
Oh, now it's just like got in your head?
Yeah, but I told Connor's playing it. I told Connor, go into my library, and he saw some Vanilla Ice and was in the mood for some ice.
It does speak to people. Welcome back. We will get to Bogish. Yeah, got it.
Go ahead, Bogey.
Well, when you played
that's
the
not-
instrumental on Monday, I couldn't pick up the right spot, but now we're good.
I'm going to be honest, too. Like, considering Bogish's age and all of that,
Coolness.
knowing the lyrics to Ice Ice Baby is not as big of a flex as you think it is.
Oh no, it tracks. It's not a compliment, but I should know these lyrics. Yes.
Yeah, and you do.
No, I can 100% imagine 20-year-old Bogey at Fordham just bumping this at the top of the speakers of his Walkman or whatever you guys had.
In 2000, this is a golden oldie.
No, yeah.
What year
Vanilla
was
Ice came into our lives when we were like 8.
Yeah.
What year was Ice Ice Baby?
Yeah, well, Ice Ice Baby didn't do that when he was a child actor.
No, when we were 8, right?
Oh.
Yeah, he's older than you think.
Yeah.
Is he 70?
So is that song.
1990.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice was the first concert I ever
that
went
song
to.
came out in the 90s?
In the early 90s? First
In the
90s.
80s.
You know what's funny? Having Manny around is really great because we can impress him so easily with just stuff we know because we just happen to be alive.
That's manners. I thought that song came out in like 98.
No, by the time I was doing it in college, it was already ironic
Yes.
and lame.
This is how we all know the words.
Right.
I thought you guys were old Vanilla. How old's Vanilla Ice?
Yeah, well, let's get to Bogish's head. Oh, I'm sorry, bro.
But I would say Manny's lack of historic knowledge is actually the most alarming thing in the show. Like, I'm like, yeah, history repeats itself. Does everyone your age, it feels like there's a vibe to not care about history at all. Like it's a badge of honor. I have no idea what happened before 2015. That always worries me a little bit. It's what leads to like World War.
Wait.
Well, it's a good thing we've never
first
had
of all,
a world war because we haven't had a world war since history began in 2000.
Yeah.
Manny would know about it anyway.
Yeah, you're like, wait, there was a president named George. There's a first George Bush. That's not good. And you're like, yes, I know nothing about anything.
George H? You mean George W?
At least Manny is just young.
Yeah.
And I hate to take a shot when he's not here, but EJ sometimes, I feel like he's dropped an even closer barrier to knowledge, and he's older.
He's like, that movie was from 2005. Who cares about anything that happened before that? I'm like,
No.
what?
EJ, I'm going to defend. He's not here today because he's dealing with something personal going on, but
Tibbs fired.
It's killing him not to be here today. Killing him. I think that EJ was a newsman before he turned to sports, right? So EJ did local news and has this news sense. He's got a curiosity about him where he watches political documentaries and does actually
You
get
saying
into
I'm not
stuff.
curious?
Maybe.
So
if it's not the Knicks bench or the Yankees rotation,
You're not
no.
wrong.
That's a fair point. I guess what I should have said about EJ is that EJ defers to EJ in matters of importance, like the things that he saw and he heard and he watched. I feel like he assumes were what everybody was doing, like the Marvel
and
conversations.
Perloff doesn't do that.
I definitely did not. EJ,
No.
when we had the sitcom bracket, and he's
Right.
like, "Well, this should be a 2 seed." I'm like, "What?"
help when he was
Don't push
born.
sister on me.
No,
Whenever
no,
that
no.
He can't help when he was born. That was just
You've
cool.
never noticed that EJ does that?
I thought Boy Meets World was a totally normal argument that he made. For him, for his age.
Yeah, okay. Hence the Mount Rushmore poll results. By the way, does Maggie do that? Does Maggie think? Well, everybody loved Caddyshack too, because I loved it when I was 8, so everybody loved it.
Kinda. I mean, we did get a whole sequels bracket out of my love of Caddyshack too. I just
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
guys
I think
haven't seen it
maybe
lately.
maybe it's a generational thing where what you see in front of you is what actually is the
Yeah.
whole world,
Yeah, I understand.
like a baby.
Hey, baby Maggie.
Yeah, even baby Maggie couldn't even break into this conversation because he had to make fun of it too much. Bogus has headline.
Let's go right to baseball. Winning streaks don't usually end like this.
Here's the right-hander's 2-1 pitch. Swing and it is cranked. Center field, well hit. Back goes Friedel on the track, at the wall, leaps, and he caught it. Oh, I don't believe it. A game-saving catch by T.J. Friedel. Are you kidding?
That's Reds Radio. TJ Friedel denying Jake Bauers' tying 2-run homer. It was the final out of the game, so Cincinnati escapes 4-2, ending Milwaukee's 8-game winning streak.
Best play in baseball. I mean,
Robbing a home run?
Robbing the home run. I used to do it
crazy.
100 times a game. As a kid, there was a fence, and I would pretend I was robbing a home run. You don't think that's the most exciting play in baseball?
No, are you kidding me? A drag bunt is the most exciting play in
Moving
baseball.
on for the second straight night. The
Don't disrespect me like that.
Dodgers scored bottom 9 to
I'm so serious.
A drag bunt to get a hit, or a drag bunt to sacrifice?
No, a drag bunt to get a hit. Are you kidding me? Lay one down the third base line. Guy goes off, runs right past first. Oh my God, it's electrifying. Come on.
This is also Manny, the man who brought us I Love Punts.
It's in my Instagram bio. I love bunts, punts, dunks, and the Knicks.
Again, I feel the need to apologize to Maggie for suggesting that any of her friends should have dated Manny for the show. I can't believe I thought that would have worked.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm
You're like, yeah, do
sorry.
you have anyone single for Manny? It's like, I'm 40. And my friends are also in
Age
their
is just
40s.
a number. No, age is just a number.
Look at Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're all grossed out by that. We're not putting that up as the shining beacon of relationships.
But this isn't same. This is what, 10, 12, maybe 15 years. That's not a big deal. The problem is what Manny brings to the table, and it's dunks, punts, and bunts.
Yeah, there's something else that
My bad.
might have to get dumped there. But here's
Say that slowly.
how about this? Is really funny.
Pearl.
You wanted to set one of my friends up with Manny.
I did.
But then when I said that Manny could babysit my kid yesterday, you were alarmed.
Yeah, because it's your kid.
Well, it's my
I'm assuming
friend.
your friends can take care of themselves. Like, your son is stuck there while Manny's, again, hate watching Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals and crying.
You know what that was all about. That was about Maggie not telling Manny where she was on vacation, overcompensating. She's like, Manny, you need a kidney? It's yours. Like, she felt so guilty about that when it was one of the funniest miscommunications of all time.
With all the Jack I've been drinking because of the Knicks.
Yeah.
You're ready to babysit.
Yep. No, I'm
But that was
for a kidney.
That was probably the greatest all-time miscommunication we've ever had. Where Manny said, "Where are you going on vacation?" and Maggie said, "I'd rather not tell you."
I didn't say I'd rather not tell you. I said I'd rather not say it on the air, and then you guys thought I
You
was
said I'd rather not say, period.
I'd rather not say.
Yeah,
And then-
everybody heard it, Maggie.
And Manny thought I was gatekeeping when I was going to Mexico, which is where Manny's family, half of it at least, is from.
Right. It was a total miscommunication. You did not mean to hide it from me. You meant to say, "I don't want to say it on the air." And in front of the entire newsroom, you denied Manny a basic question.
And everyone was like, did she just not tell him where she's going? We were like, I think so.
Maggie, meanwhile, is
On air is a
clueless,
huge
absolutely
part of that sentence.
clueless to this controversy. Totally like, do. And then
On
we
my
just...
way to Mexico. Do.
You know that Manny did this thing that whole week about how Maggie's in parts unknown.
Hey, yeah, she went herding sheep in Mongolia. I remember
You
those
had no
times.
idea. When you came in and we told you this, you were like, I did what?
She was training to be a UFC fighter in Dagestan.
I'd rather not say, do. I'm just going to go over here.
Hey, everyone, tacos.
I was like, wow, Maggie really does not trust Manny. And everyone's like, yeah, Duh.
Get it?
The fact of the matter is everyone was like, yeah, we get it. Like, I would tell 4 people where I'm going and not the 5th on a show.
We used to work with Stu Kovacs, who's on the afternoon with Zach Gelb. Maggie gave her passwords to Stu. She trusted him so much. So, Manny, you have a high bar to pass.
No, she's got his kid now.
Stu was always my emergency contact.
Stu's rock solid, not as emotional as Manny.
You said I would be your emergency contact.
3 a.m., I'm in the slammer. I need Stu Kovacs coming to bail me out.
You're at outside the garden
You're
party.
with me in the jail cell.
3 a.m. in Mexico is when she'll call me.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
If you are someone who loves to hate New York, well, today is your day. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. And the reason I say that is because the Knicks look like they're back to their dysfunctional ways, Pearl. This feel-good story, at least for some parts of the country, about the New York Knicks may be short-lived. They fired Tom Thibodeau yesterday. And while... Good morning. While it may be defensible, and I'm not even like a huge Tibbs person, I don't love what it represents, which is this hairpin, itchy trigger finger. I think the owner had something to do with it. All the things that kept the Knicks in this sort of dark ages of mediocrity felt like they reared their ugly head again. So if you were someone who was looking at the New York fans and New York and saying, what are you celebrating? I think they are taking steps backwards now with a move like yesterday.
Normally, I totally agree with you. I do think that big city teams like New York tend to look for short-term solutions instead of long-term solutions, and they don't have patience. And the owner meddles, you just nailed it. Like, let's say the Jets, for example, like just big move after big move when you don't build it slow and steady like the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we all watched Tibbs' Knicks, and like, are you really going to win a title with Jalen Brunson dribbling for 16 seconds out of a 24-second clock? Like, he just ground the game to a halt. And I just don't know if that style of basketball, which wins a lot of regular season games, is going to win an NBA title. So I do understand. And that's the reaction I'm seeing. A lot of appreciation for Tibbs, but like a lot of excitement. Maybe there is some other set of buttons to push to get them over the top.
Okay, well then you're talking about a really big makeover of how a team, what their ethos is, how they play. Because remember, we're talking about the Pacers ran them up and down the court, and that did not play into the Knicks' favor, and obviously did not. So you're talking about a team that made it to Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, but is not actually very close to winning a title. Because you want a full facelift.
You could come out of the East and still be the 7th best team in the West. So let's be realistic about what this is. The East stinks. I mean, they won 50 games. They were the 12th best team in the league on the regular season. So, or something like, they're just not that. They're not that elite. Let's be real about this.
Okay, well, then that means it's the roster, too.
Well,
so
no,
you're going to pin it on the coach when you may have not had a championship roster. By the way.
Well, you don't. You're right. You don't.
The way that the Knicks fans, Manny here, was literally crying tears of joy, and people in the front office who were celebrating when they made the Eastern Conference Finals like they had just won the title, clearly they hit a benchmark that was either a goal or one they were not even expecting to. When they beat the Celtics, it was like relief, exhale, we did it, we're here. And so the guy who got you there, now all of a sudden he's got to be shown the door. And I get it took some epic comebacks. I understand the Knicks play from behind a lot. Maybe you don't like that, but
it took one epic fail, and if Tyrese Halliburton's shot didn't randomly go in at the end of game 1, maybe they win the series.
Well,
but you know what I'm saying?
Are we playing results or process? Because you can't be surprised that Thibodeau has a short bench or that, he likes to play this kind of style. You hired him.
Right, but I think people are saying it's unfair to do this, and I get that. He got them so far, but there's also a reality of I kind of agree with a lot of Knicks fans. This is probably the farthest Tibbs can get you. Like, I just don't see him with this team winning a title.
Or do you not just see this team winning a title?
Well, here's the thing. You bring in something completely different, and you tinker with the roster, too. And you go like the Pacers and Thunder, who are 8 deep. You just say, you know what? We're going to get a guy who wants to run up and down the court, and we're going to build a bench, put a little more thought and energy into the bench, right? So there's no reason to do that when you have Tibbs. He's only going to play 6 guys anyway. So I think you need to expand the way you think about this team and get a more up-tempo guy.
So, okay, then the question becomes, like, where are they going to look next?
Well, do you trade Cat, too? I think is a big issue here. Like, are you going to rebuild your team depending on who you hire? Say you bring in a coach who just does not want to play half-court basketball. Do you need Brunson and Cat?
Well,
no. So you bring in a coach and you make a move simultaneously. They all work together.
Okay, but I mean, I think that, and you've said this, is you don't think coaches really matter in professional sports because you think the GM's the one who's really pulling the strings. So it's not what style does the coach want to play. Yeah. It's what does the front office want to do.
Right, and they hire a coach that fits that philosophy. So it's actually, I think the better way of putting it is all one philosophy from top down. We are building a complete team like the Thunder have done it. The Thunder are obviously a GM-built team. There's no doubt, like, Sam Presti's a Hall of Famer, and Mark Dignold could walk in this room right now and we wouldn't know who he is.
Right. I mean, I don't know how many people know what Sam Presti looks like.
I actually have no idea.
To be honest.
But I mean, his name is I was like, oh, yeah, that guy who builds great teams. So I think if you're the Knicks, you have to step back and say, hey, let's get a coach and a roster that can go to the next level.
Okay.
And I think that makes some sense, even though I do agree with what you're saying. This was a sort of, hey, we got to win now kind of move.
Yeah. I love putting Oklahoma City like up and on this pedestal, but to be honest, like they had a lot of time here. They were given the benefit of the time. Their GM could go fleece everybody, including the Clippers.
Yep.
They're the ones who could build this the right way because there was no expectations. That's different in New York.
Right. That's the problem. New York does not give its GMs time to do this. I think you nailed the exact problem and why New York hasn't had a men's championship in so many years, because everybody's like, I got to win now.
Yeah. And I think there actually were genuinely bad hires that were being made for 20 years because I don't think the owner knows what he's doing when it comes to basketball.
But are you sure that those coaches weren't okay and the entire organization? Because you could be a good coach who gets it with the wrong owner.
Some of the coaches, maybe. I don't know about the front office. So anyway.
Well, they had Donnie Walsh. I mean, they had Phil Jackson. I mean, I know Phil Jackson wasn't a great executive, but he could have been. I think it's the owner. I think your first instinct was right.
Well, I mean, we all know. And if you don't know, now you do know. This is what it looks like when I believe he did get involved. Personal stuff aside with the owner and myself, we do not have a good relationship, but I think he got involved here. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. That is just purely a basketball criticism.
And by the
way,
way,
make that clear for everyone who's listening at Madison Square Garden. Good morning.
I will defend you, too. You are consistent. You don't want owners involved in any team, in any sport. You say, and I think you're not alone, owners stay out.
Oh,
and stay out of the football
the worst.
decisions.
Jerry Jones is the poster child.
I'm borrowing from our friend Pat McAfee. They played. Have you seen this viral video of the Panthers were offered a big trade package for the number 8 pick, and they turned it down. And they have it's an amazing video. It's 4 minutes of them debating whether to make this move. And then McAfee pointed out, you see David Tepper in the back. He doesn't say a word. He lets the GM do his thing. And all of a sudden, I think the Panthers have turned the corner because the owner pulled out.
Well, that wasn't the case like a couple of years ago. Remember?
Right. I think he learned his lesson.
He's learning. Okay.
Yeah. So I think you go Woody Johnson on the Jets. You got to keep the owner out of the sports decisions. And I think it's not just Olin, just so people know. It's not like you have a personal issue with this guy. Well,
no, I do.
But I think you're right.
But not in this particular instance.
Like if why would a businessman be able to make a basketball decision? Like he made his money in cable. I don't know. I totally think you're right. But what about the report? I'm sorry to dwell on this.
Yeah.
That it was Leon Rose. It wasn't the owner. Do you buy that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone gets to insulate the owner. There was a report that, Dolan was attending the exit interviews and did not do that in the last couple of years. So, listen, who knows? But what I'm saying is what it represents. We may never actually know the real who ordered the code red, but what it represents is now a destabilized team. And the last time when the Knicks have been not stable, granted, they didn't have a Jalen Brunson on the team at that point and a captain and someone people really follow. It wasn't good. So here's the question. Who could be the person who steps in? This is not easy. This is also another reason that makes me think that the owner actually fired the coach and ordered the code red, because I don't think they actually have somebody waiting in the wings. You'd like to think your team has somebody, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who it would be.
Whoever it is, they're going to say we love this guy all along, so you can't believe what they say. But is it an assistant coach, someone who's unproven who they think could take him over the top? Is it actually another retread? I'm telling you, if you will think Denver Nuggets former head coach Michael Malone is going to represent anything different than Tom Thibodeau, you're wrong. They are spitting images of each other. One has a title, one doesn't. Well, one got to coach Nikola Jokic and the other one hasn't. So I think that, and I'm not trying to take away from Malone, but they profile similar. It's kind of like if you had a police sketch artist and like, who robbed the bank? Was it Thibodeau or Malone? It's a lot of the same qualities you'd be writing down on the paper.
Yeah, I do feel like Malone's offense looked a little better than, Tibbs was just like Jalen Brunson scored 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Well,
and
what
gave
was
us
the
win.
offense in Denver? Nikola Jokic, do your
Nah,
thing.
there was a
and
lot
Jokic
of-
gets people involved.
Yeah, right. But the ball moved a lot in Denver.
Because
It
of
does
Jokic.
not. Well, yeah, but how do you know it's not Malone?
Because Jokic has continued to do it. I think Jokic will win another title with another coach.
But I don't think Malone is a dribble the ball until the air comes out of a guy, where Tibbs is like, I want to slow this game down as much as humanly possible.
Knicks going in the right direction or wrong direction. And also, we mentioned this earlier, so I want to throw it out to the audience. Danny Hurley is going to be a name you're going to hear. The UConn head coach who obviously flirted heavily with the Lakers last offseason. Would he be the guy you bring in? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. It is that time to hit the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff.
It's time to feast your ears on Maggie and Perloff's Mount Olympus.
Okay, bro. The
All right.
beautiful cities of Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Madison all sort of lumped together today. So basically a Wisconsin Mount Olympus. I went first yesterday. Why don't you do the honors today?
Okay. This was really hard because, Green Bay has all those championships. I didn't want them to take the whole thing over, but I couldn't help myself to some degree. I started out with Brett Favre. For some reason, Brett Favre transcends who Brett Favre actually was. He felt like a character. He's a sports god in the sense that Brett Favre took a franchise that was going nowhere and totally transformed them into something else. So 3 MVPs in a row, 1 Super Bowl win, 1 very close Super Bowl loss. Maybe could have done even more there in Green Bay, but I feel like he fits the definition of what we're doing with Mount Olympus. Okay, number 2, Vince Lombardi. Obviously, he defines Packer football, 5 championships, won the first 2 Super Bowls, iconic, not just for the way he looked and walked the sideline, has all these sayings. Vince Lombardi quotes are incredible. There's a play about Vince Lombardi that is awesome. Like, he was an inspiration in addition to being the best coach of his era, and he defined what Packers football is. So that's 2. Now we get a little dicey.
Okay.
Hank Aaron is going to be my 3rd.
Okay.
I had to have a Milwaukee person on. He's not dicey. 420 out of his record 754 home runs were in Milwaukee. Came back to Milwaukee. He was a Milwaukee Brave. They moved to Atlanta, set the record, the all-time home run record in Atlanta, but then came back to the Brewers because he's so tied to the city of Milwaukee. And he's also just kind of considered a sports god there from everything I was reading. There's a lot of things named after him. The Brewers were great. They're awesome. There's so many Brewers that I love growing up, but Hank Aaron is the one sports god. I mean, we're talking gods, not just stars, but gods. Okay, so the 4th spot is where I had a lot of issues. I had a lot of trouble here with this one, Maggie.
Yeah.
I went with Ron. I went with Aaron Rodgers for my 4th spot on the Mount Olympus. And I think right now it feels weird because he is in a valley of his career. But I think in 10 years, when we look back on what Aaron Rodgers did in Green Bay, it was remarkable. 4 MVPs, 1 Super Bowl championship. I think Rodgers fits on this list. There was another quarterback I left off that killed me.
Yep.
But I went with Aaron Rodgers as my 4th Mount Olympus.
All right. Good. We're a little more aligned today than we've ever been.
Okay.
So we're a little same book, same page on this one. I will go with my Mount Olympus for Wisconsin. I also had Lombardi. You got to put Vince Lombardi on. And I remember taking the tour of Lambeau Field many years ago, and they have a full replica of what Lombardi's office looked like. And that was like a big part of the tour, and it always stayed with me. Just obviously, you could have gone with Curly Lambeau and founded the organization. But Lombardi, it became like more than a coach. It's a symbol of toughness and all of that.
Yeah, you say Lombardi and it evokes a certain thing.
Winning.
Yes.
Is the other thing it's synonymous with because obviously the trophy is named after. Okay. I also went with Favre. Now, Favre stock couldn't be any lower right now. The documentary just came out. We know that he didn't act like he didn't carry himself in his personal life in a way that, with a lot of people was distasteful. And the fact that I think people in Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Wisconsin still love him despite that shows the true godlike quality that he has.
None of that happened in Green Bay, though.
No, I'm saying I'm saying the stuff that did happen in Green Bay. Like, people knew that he was out drinking and carousing and, just generally not carrying himself like a franchise quarterback.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think, Brett Favre did some things, but the real trouble was after Green Bay.
Well, obviously, the welfare scandal and all these things now, he's getting dragged in front of Congress and all of that. No, this has become extremely embarrassing for him. But even at the time,
you could argue the pain was why he got to those pain pills. So I'm not sure I definitely agree with that characteristic, because he was taking one for the team and went to pain pills, and that was his addiction. So I hear you, but post Favre, that's a different animal.
No, it's and honestly, the end of the Favre era, I think, turned a lot of people off.
That was bad, but Brett Favre though in Green Bay.
Well, that's why I put him on.
How many fours are out there? Yeah,
and that's the thing too. It's like, because the organization had been in such a depth, a valley, as you said, before he got there, is why I put him on and why I left Rodgers off. And this has nothing to do with politics. Obviously, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, their politics are pretty similar here. This is not because of Rodgers and his recent stuff. I just think if you're going sports gods, Rodgers took the torch and continued the success, but Favre was the one who stopped the bleeding. And Holmgren, and there's other people Ted Thompson and guys like that, but you have to give Favre the credit here, and then Rodgers continued it. That's more of the Packers, look at what they did. They played this thing the right way. Favre, to stop the bleeding and to bring the Packers back to national prominence, I think he deserves to be on this list. Hank Aaron obviously deserves to be on this list, even though he will probably make 2 Mount Olympuses, because I would imagine you and I are going to have a serious consideration when we go to Atlanta and do our Mount Olympus of Atlanta. He broke the records in Atlanta. He built the records in Milwaukee. So Hank Aaron has to be on this list. And you know what? I got accused of ignoring baseball when we did the Mount Olympus of Detroit. I'm not ignoring baseball now. I'm going to put Robin Yount on this list. He deserves to be on this list as well. 20-year career, 2-time AL MVP, 3,000 hits.
Amazing.
Has to be here.
He's like the original slugging shortstop, too.
And,
Cal Ripken in him.
This is why also and that's our Mount Olympus of Milwaukee, Green Bay, Wisconsin, if you will. And you're welcome to call in at 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. I left off Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
He's so LA to me, and I know he won the title. I understand that he won the title in the 70s in Milwaukee, but I left him off, and I left Giannis off.
Well, Giannis is the one. If Giannis stays this year, then he goes on.
Really?
Yes. Because the Kareem was not dedicated. He wanted out of Milwaukee.
Yeah, right.
So he lost his spot on Mount Olympus. Giannis, if he chooses to stay in Milwaukee, that says a lot.
The other person who I did really want to put on the list, we joked about it before, 2 others. We joked about it before. Barry Alvarez, I do think, is a god in Wisconsin.
Oh, my God, huge.
Yes, obviously from the University of Wisconsin, and longtime coach and athletic director, and, he could have a place on this list.
Yep.
And then here's another one. And this is what I changed my Mount Olympus this morning for the first time ever. I slept on it, and I changed it because I did not have Favre on originally. I had Reggie White on.
No.
But see, this is the thing. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Reggie White, I think, I don't want to say it's impossible for him to be underrated. He's the only person who can actually challenge Lawrence Taylor as the greatest defensive player of all time. You can actually make an argument and make a case. Reggie White, unbelievable. And chose Green Bay. That's got to elevate you in a place that's never known for getting free agents, Pearl. He left your Philadelphia Eagles to go to Green Bay, and they won.
Yeah, he's a sports god, but he's a minor sports god there. So he played played 6 seasons in Green Bay, but not really sort of started to fall apart and get old.
But won there.
Yeah, he won a Super Bowl.
And chose Green Bay. So I think that does matter. Again, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
Did you go for some local advice or no?
I wanted to text our friend Aaron Nagler, but I didn't do it.
So I thought you would be texting our friend Aaron Nagler. So I went to our friend Peter Bukowski, who does the Packers podcast. He's like, you're going to get some heat for not putting Bart Starr over Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
so Starr is the fifth one for me.
And Starr technically arrived before Lombardi, right? I think he was there 2 years earlier than Vince Lombardi.
He's like, he said locally, like the big debate will be Rodgers versus Starr. Now, I think in time, because Rodgers is so much higher on the all-time quarterback list, Rodgers will make it. He did say Barry Alvarez, Ron Dane is the ultimate Badger, and that if Giannis stays, there's something to that loyalty. And Reggie's a great example, too, because choosing Wisconsin when some people would leave for bigger markets. But I was surprised that neither of us put Bart Starr because he's sort of,
Yeah, no, I know.
Bart Starr is another name. You say Bart Starr, it's like, oh, Bart Starr, the guy who won all the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Don Hudson obviously would have a great argument, too, the Randy Moss of his era.
Yeah.
But better.
Is that what they call him?
I mean, he is the most, if you ever want to pull stats, look at Don Hudson, what he was doing in Green Bay compared to every other receiver. He was better than Randy Moss. So that's one. I think this is a little unfair, though, because I feel like we both still you brought in Young, which was good. I feel like we didn't give Milwaukee enough love. I was afraid of that. Is that why
Doc Rivers? Who do you want?
Well, just to go with so much Green Bay. I was a little worried about that balance.
I don't think, that's why I'd love to hear from people who either are from this area or who root for these teams, because I think they would do the same thing.
Yeah, you could be right.
888-710-4ISN, right?
You could win this poll. I think this is my prediction. I think it's close because people are not going to like Rodgers on my poll. There's a lot of...
Or some people love him.
Some people love, right? I think Robin Yount's controversial.
Why?
Because he's like, Robin Yount's a great player, but he's not Bart Starr. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Reggie White.
Because he didn't win?
He's just not a top-tier A-list Hall of Famer like Bart Starr.
Okay, but we're talking about for a certain city. I'm not doing Mount Olympus of Major League Baseball.
I know. I'm just saying, I think that some people will read that and be like, oh, Robin Yount's not as big a name as Bart Starr. You know what I mean? You make a great argument, but I just worry for you that people might vote against you. But people are voting against me because Rodgers won't decide on the Steelers.
I'd love to just do a separate poll question, Manny, about who is the more beloved Green Bay quarterback, Rodgers or Favre?
I would think Favre.
Yeah, but they both now, it's like, this is not high times for Brett Favre. Like, is the current stuff now clouding any of that?
In Green Bay?
It took a while for him to even come back to be honored in the stadium. People were
not
happy with how he left the team, and I can't imagine they love how he's dragging himself through the mud here with these scandals.
I don't know. I am a sports fan who easily ignores scandal. Give me a championship. By the way, there is both of us. I think our mistake too was to not put the guy that what was our first instinct? The first name you said?
Bart Starr.
No. When this whole thing came up, he's not a great player.
Bob Uecker.
Yeah. Should we have done it?
Ryan is in Tennessee. Ryan, do we get docked for not putting Uecker on our list?
100%. Bob Uecker is the first person that pops to mind to me when you talk Milwaukee or Wisconsin. It's got to be Bob Uecker for sports.
Man.
We screwed up, Maggie. I think we screwed up.
Because we went with all-time players and coaches?
I get it. Ryan, we messed up, didn't we?
Yes, you did. I would almost put Uecker above Lombardi here for Mr. Milwaukee.
Yep.
Above Vince Lombardi?
Yeah.
Ryan, you realize you sound certified nuts right now.
No, I get it.
It's Bob Uecker. I mean, how much joy did he bring to sports fans, not just in Milwaukee?
Yeah, you did. We've done non-athletes. We did Steinbrenner, Phil Knight. I get it. Yeah,
But he was an athlete too.
Yeah, he did play, and he was so self-deprecating about his career because he was not very good, but by major league standards. But no, he did play for the team. You're right about that.
If I could redo it, Ryan, I'd put him on there. You're right, because he's a sports god in the sense that he's not mortal. He's Uke.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you for that. I guess Uecker used to have the famous line that companies would pay him not to wear their equipment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a million jokes like that. Yeah, I get it. It all depends. A lot of this depends on how you define a sports god and what a player means to a city.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Okay, what'd we get right? What'd we get wrong? The Mount Olympus, the sports gods from Wisconsin.
Just a bit outside.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Mount Olympus. We're doing the 4 sports gods of every major sports city. Today is Milwaukee, Green Bay. I went with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Vince Lombardi, and Hank Aaron. Maggie?
I also went with Lombardi. I did go with Favre. I went with Hank Aaron, and I went with Robin Yount.
Love it.
Yeah. So let us know what we got wrong. We're also asking you this question. Perloff and I both left off Aaron Rodgers.
I have Rodgers.
I'm sorry, you have Rodgers. I left off Rodgers.
Yeah.
We also left off Bart Starr. Don't tell anybody in Wisconsin. I know that's going to be controversial. But who is the more popular quarterback in Wisconsin amongst the Packer fans, which I know you don't have to be in Wisconsin to be a Packer fan? Is it Rodgers or is it Favre? James is in Wisconsin. James, settle this debate.
It's not even close. Aaron Rodgers has been appreciated for all the stuff that he's done over the years, but Brett Favre completely dwarfs Aaron Rodgers in terms of popularity amongst the people here.
And why is that?
I think it was the passion for the game and just the way he played. Just a reckless abandonment, would do whatever needed to be done. And Aaron Rodgers, especially later in his career, but throughout, just always seemed that like he was out there playing, but he'd get dinged up and he didn't seem to be on the field where it took, you'd have to move heaven and earth to get Brett Favre off a football field.
Interesting. Okay, so that's what did it for you. James, thank you. Appreciate you weighing in on that. Just the gunslinger and the toughness of Favre.
This was the 90s. Listen, it was not an era of quarterbacks, and Favre stood out so far above everybody else. Aaron Rodgers statistically blows Brett Favre out of the water.
Oh, yeah, he never throws picks. It's like the most amazing thing.
But it's a totally different era. If you look at actually Favre's numbers compared to his cohorts, Favre's way above where Rodgers is. Because Rodgers, Brady, all these guys had Mahomes, ridiculous touchdown to interception. But Favre was throwing touchdowns like nobody in his era. Except, like Troy Aikman was his competition. And Troy Aikman would throw 20 touchdowns and Favre would throw 35. He was incredible. And also, Favre's attitude was amazing.
Yeah, I have Favre on there too, but mine was mostly because of how he pulled Green Bay out of the doldrums, right? Because he was the first there. Rodgers took the torch, but I feel a little uncomfortable from our cushy studio saying that Aaron Rodgers is not tough. Aaron Rodgers was there for every game. Aaron Rodgers, the year they won the Super Bowl, that guy had how many concussions that year? We don't even talk about it. He probably shouldn't have been playing in that playoff run, and he definitely did. I don't want to say that Rodgers is not a tough guy.
Well, I don't think the caller said he wasn't a tough guy. He said, we appreciate him. He was good. He just wasn't, he wasn't Favre as far as, Rodgers probably more talented than Favre.
Yeah, Rodgers might be the Mount Rushmore, Mount Olympus of just quarterbacks, period. That's how talented he is.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there are not a lot of arms like Brett Favre. So. No. Rodgers has a good arm. Favre had a unique arm. But he was a bit reckless, too.
Yeah.
He would go out there, so there's a mythology to Brett Favre, which I think we need time to get to Rodgers. I think the reason Rodgers is not popular is because he's still in the league. He's still playing possibly he's still in the league. I think that the fact that he's still there, it's hard to appreciate your former star when he's out in another city.
Yeah, I put Favre on and not Rodgers, so I'm with the public on this one, but I don't want to be totally disrespectful here to Rodgers. He's got a great origin story. I mean, having to be in the shadow of Favre and then emerge from that and how he played, he's got all the things that would make him a sports god. I just think that Favre was just more popular. I do.
Yeah, but also Rodgers loved Green Bay. I don't think Rodgers becomes Rodgers without Green Bay. If we read that book by Ian O'Connor, there's a lot. He's like, I really liked that I could live my life in just Green Bay, and it was very popular there too. Just give it a little time.
Andrew Bogusch is here with all the latest headlines. What's up, folks? What do you think of our Mount Olympus today?
Well, congrats to you. You were competitive today. So.
What, I get a participation trophy? I'm not going to get smoked 83 to whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you still might lose the poll, but that would be that's just a subjective thing.
Do you want some very, very early polling results?
Please.
Maggie, Mount Olympus up 58.6% to Perloff's 41.4.
There we go.
All right, let's go, baby. Robin, I'm going to ride this Robin Yount thing all the way.
Not every county has been accounted for, okay. So take that with a grain of salt.
I think I'm even better in the suburbs.
I mean, I think
I've heard that as well.
Lombardi and Henry Aaron are the obvious ones to me. Then Oscar Robertson came to mind yesterday when we first talked about this.
Not that many years.
Yeah, I didn't realize he only played 4 or 5 seasons in Milwaukee. Like 2/3 of his career is in Cincinnati. in the NBA. So that's off the board. So that then gets Bart Starr in with Brett Favre from me. That's my 4.
So you'd put Starr over Rodgers?
Yes.
Rodgers is going to lose me this poll, isn't he? Aaron?
Aaron Rodgers right now, again, early results, losing mightily 87-13.
Well, I had Favre on there. I just think, listen, obviously, Aaron Rodgers has been more to football than Robin Yount meant to baseball. The question is the locality. I mean, Robin Yount was a great player.
2-time MVP.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, he's definitely tier B of the Hall of Fame, where Aaron Rodgers is tier 1. And Bart Starr is Bart Starr. Yeah.
Bogues, what else? Yeah.
Well, no need for a coaching change in Indiana since Rick Carlisle actually got the Pacers through the Eastern Conference Final. He's now expecting a little more resistance from the Thunder in the NBA Finals.
It's the greatest opportunity. It's also the greatest challenge because, we're going against an opponent that really, on metrics, has, really changed the game.
This is the NBA Finals. Put him in his own room so there's no practice noise behind him. Game 1, by the way, of this series still a whole day away, but the Stanley Cup Final does begin tonight. Act 2 for the Panthers and Oilers. The puck dropping shortly after 5 Pacific. For the second straight night, the Dodgers scored bottom 9 to extend the game. This time they went on to beat the Mets 6-5-10 on a Freddie Freeman RBI double. And for the second straight night, the Padres outlasted the Giants in San Francisco.
Here's Jake Cronenworth. First pitch swinging, ground ball to the right side, base hit through. Jackson Merrill's going to score. Padres have a 3-2 lead on the 2-out single by Jake Cronenworth.
Little 2-out magic.
That's Padres radio. San Diego, a 3-2 win in 10. The Angels held off the Red Sox 4-3 in 10 at Fenway, getting a deciding run on a double play. Boston manager Alex Cora, not sure why Boston manager Alex Cora is not doing a better job this season.
It's an effort, preparation, attention to detail. I have no idea then. I watched that game. I was like, wow, this is real. It's frustrating.
The loss last night has the Sox 5 games under 500, 10 games behind the Yankees in the AL East,
That's the
and
one.
5 games away from a wild card spot.
Manny, stop it. You got to start rooting. You need that energy to fight the Mets, not the Red Sox. Because your worst nightmare is to have the Mets win the World Series. That would be, no, because you'd live that torture every day in New York City.
Yeah, you're not 100% wrong, but I mean, they're both kind of irrelevant to me at the moment.
Did you see Big Papi came out to defend Rafi Devers? Right?
Yes.
He said, leave him alone. It's like, I know, heaven forbid they want him to play a different position.
Hey, man, them thick boys stick together.
By the way, we do the Mount Olympus of Boston, which I actually just had the dates in front of me. That's going to be real hard. Does Big Papi cross that list? Sports god in Boston?
I think. Yeah, I mean, he's a definition of a sports god, and he's not going to make the list.
This is our bleeping city?
Is he not going to make the list?
He might make mine.
You're going to leave Larry Bird off?
No. What? I'm not
going to leave Bobby Orr off?
Okay, that's 3. And
you're
then
going
Brady.
to leave Tom Brady off.
Done.
You're going to leave Ted Williams off.
Yeah.
What about Belichick?
What about Belichick?
No, Belichick. That's Providence, first of all.
What about Randy Moss?
And that's
Belichick doesn't
Chapel Hill.
sniff this thing. You're also going to leave Bill Russell.
Yeah.
Bob Cousy.
I know.
Kristaps Porzingis.
I know.
Derek White.
We need 12.
Boston College legend Matt Ryan.
Is Matt Ryan going to make the Atlanta Mount Olympus? I think is the better question.
Is Matt Ryan going to make the Ryan family Olympus?
We were talking
he could be
about
in Philly, St. Joe's Prep. It's tough.
Boston's going to be impossible. But I was
Boston's
thinking about Big
impossible.
Papi when he did that thing about Devers. the
Right,
other
he
day.
is. We are. Oh my God.
It would feel wrong not to have him there. I actually think Manny Ramirez could be there too, except for the.
How about Jared Saltalamacchia?
How about what's his face?
Oh,
Epstein.
I remember him.
Theo? By the way, Carl Yastrzemski has every right to be on that list too. MVP rookie. I mean, that's a sports god. Carlton Fisk.
This is where your 12 spot argument really weighs in.
We might have to
Boston, LA.
Maggie, we might have to. And LA's tough too. There are a lot of tough ones, but Boston is a weird one.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Mount Olympus, more than 4 spots.
Not in this version.
Stop.
Hold on one second. Sorry. Boston comes your way June 20th. Mark your calendars.
I'm calling out sick that day.
Yep. The aforementioned Meg McConnell had 3 points and 3 assists off the Mercury bench last night. Phoenix taking an 88-65 loss in Minnesota. The Lynx are 8-0 for the 4th time in franchise history. The Seattle Storm snapping a 3-game slide, 83-77 over Dallas, and the Fever beat the Mystics 85-76 without Caitlin Clark. The Softball World Series Best of 3 finale begins tonight. Texas Tech ace Nyjah Kennedy says she'll be fine because she's been fine for months now. Her head coach confirming yesterday that Kennedy has been dealing with a hamstring issue since late February. And Coco Gauff rallies for a 3-set win over Madison Keys to reach the French Open semifinals. Gauff lost the first set, the tiebreaker, forced the third, and then won it easily 6-1. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you. We've been doing the Mount Olympus of the state of Wisconsin. Green Bay, Milwaukee really taking center stage. But what about their biggest rival? Addressing some concerns that you probably didn't see coming. Hit those Chicago Bears next. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back to our Mount Olympus, the four sports gods. Today we tackled the state of Wisconsin. We'll get back to that in just one moment, but I hate to, on a day we're celebrating everything Wisconsin sports, Pearl, I got to bring up one of their biggest rivals, if not their biggest rival, and that is the Chicago Bears, because this one was interesting to me. Obviously, new coach Ben Johnson, who Perloff has already put on the Mount Olympus of sports gods of Chicago, even though he has not called a coin flip yet, but you are expecting really big things from Ben Johnson. So we've seen now from Caleb Williams, the quarterback, and now DJ Moore in a new article in the Chicago Tribune saying that one of the big points of emphasis that Ben Johnson has had since he's taken over has been body language.
Okay.
So not X's and O's, not footwork, I'm not talking about arm angles or, how DJ Moore works on the sidelines and stuff like that. Excuse me. Actually talking about what do you look like when things go wrong? Palms to the sky. Shrugging your shoulders. DJ Moore did walk off the field at one point last season. That's not a great look.
Oh, right. I couldn't remember why DJ Moore had such bad body language. Yeah, he was. Love DJ Moore.
He's not known for that, but he had a moment last year. I mean, listen, you keep losing these games the way the Bears were losing last year. Maybe guys get frustrated. I understand it. Caleb Williams not popping up after he takes a big hit, laying on the ground for a little bit. I would never criticize a guy for that as I'm sitting here in our cushy studio. That's a nice balmy 70 degrees. I don't know what it's like to get hit by a defensive end like that, but these are the types of things that he's working on. He's watching tape with these guys to talk about their body language. To me, while I think it's admirable, this is something that could feel like a gigantic waste of time. Because the one thing that changes your body language and changes everything about a team is winning. So if Ben Johnson doesn't do the big thing, which is fixing the offense, making Caleb Williams into what we think he could be, putting points on the board, who cares if guys are shrugging their shoulders, rolling their eyes, shoulders hunched? It doesn't matter. The posture and the good body language comes with winning. So I don't understand why he's making such a big deal about this.
Yeah, it's so funny. I genuinely see this the opposite way. This reminds me of Bill Belichick. Attention to detail, spending 45 minutes explaining how to answer questions in the press. Like Bill Belichick looked at every little thing. This seems like a big thing to me. Yeah, like your leader, Caleb Williams, the one thing you do not want is your quarterback calling out others. And when he lay there, it kind of implies, oh, man, you guys aren't protecting me. So, and when DJ Moore walks off the field in frustration, like, you should probably cut him. That's like, you can't do that. Like, great teams do not, like, attitude is very important. And Bill Belichick would pay so much attention to little weird things like that I have no problem with this.
Well, they also did a ton of winning. And some of the stuff that Belichick got away with because they were winning is something other coaches can't do, which is part of the reason I think why the Belichick coaching tree has been so bare and has basically been a failure with guys going on to be head coaches at other places because they try to reenact what Belichick was doing, and it doesn't work when you don't have the rings to back it up. It doesn't work when Tom Brady's not there taking as much criticism as the next guy or being the embodiment of it.
Well, right.
Here's my question to you. Like, I think if you look at a quarterback we think of as like a bad body language guy.
Right, like Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler's the guy who comes to
of course.
Right.
Famous for that.
Sure. And if Jay Cutler won more playoff games
right.
than no one would give a you-know-what about this. Now, Jay Cutler didn't win enough.
Right, because he had bad body language.
See, I don't think that's the case.
Jay Cutler's problem was in his head, his leadership, 100%. Listen, I consider myself an analytical guy, but there's so many intangibles with a quarterback, and Jay Cutler had none of them.
Okay.
And that's why he did not win a Super Bowl, because he was talented enough.
Oh, yeah, his arm was amazing. But, see, to me, yes, there has to be intangibles, but I don't think body language is the end-all, be-all of what this is. Like, when Caleb Williams and DJ Moore are saying Ben Johnson is watching tape with us about our body language, it didn't imply that he's also, saying, and you've got to be better in the locker room, and you've got to do that. Like, the intangibles, they're called that for a reason. It's a lot of different things. To me,
But this feels like an intangible.
One of many.
Right. I feel like Tom Brady would love this crap.
I'm sure he would.
Yeah, he'd be like all about this because he was like, how do you show up for each rep in practice? That was Tom Brady's obsession. This feels along the same lines, like bring intensity and bring a good attitude to every play.
Do you think that a guy who I think is one of those rah-rah kind of guys who people love his body language, Baker Mayfield, do you think that he is winning one more playoff game because of positive body language? No.
Yeah, totally. Like quarterbacks, people follow quarterbacks. If you have Tom Brady on your team, and it's easier to do this.
Yes.
Everybody's like, I got to bring my A game. I got Tom Brady. And I think, honestly, when things go wrong with Aaron Rodgers, like everybody feeds off that energy too. And he's a guy who, when things are going badly, kind of looks dejected. I think you saw that in the late playoff runs for the Packers. Yes, I do think attitude and leadership and posture and all that stuff matters for a quarterback. Definitely.
Well, it's funny, though, because we're doing the Mount Olympus of, Wisconsin athletes, and Aaron Rodgers is on yours. Like, he's done enough, whether he was shrugging his shoulders or looking dejected or calling guys out. I mean, sometimes, like, that doesn't matter because you won enough. You're good enough.
I keep thinking back to that one loss when the Packers were really good and they lost that cold weather game to the Niners. Just him walking off dejected, I'm like, he is just done with this team and this team is done with him. I don't know. You're right. That was probably playing the result. But, I think this stuff matters for a quarterback. Like, quarterback is different. And also, DJ Moore, like, you always have to wrangle in wide receivers. Wide receivers, what's the first thing they think about? Me.
Sure.
You got to get them on board with the team, and you can't have the wide receiver being like, this young QB stinks.
Well, I mean, I would hope that DJ Moore would just get that. He would be a happier guy if he was getting more targets. Did he even have 700 receiving yards last year? I don't think so. I bet if he did, he'd have a smile on his face. I don't think it has anything to do with more than just success. That's it.
Well, honestly, the Bears have a lot of problems. Like, they need a full attitude makeover. Like, Caleb is, and you definitely, like, if you're a quarterback, you can't look like you're calling out other guys. That might be why Shedeur Sanders fell. You have to be, it's all on me, it's all on me. Tom Brady, it's all on me. So Caleb definitely needs that kind of coaching. What's your problem with Ben Johnson? Dude's awesome.
I have no problem with Ben Johnson. I have a problem with your putting Ben Johnson in Canton.
I think Ben Johnson is a great hire. I think the Raiders would have killed or died to have Ben Johnson. Like, Tom Brady clearly wanted him. I think that they're at 8.5 wins. Give it 2 years, and Ben Johnson will finally break the 4,000-yard passing mark for the Bears.
Maybe.
I think that they did a really smart thing. If you're talking about football, what did they do? They spent a ton of money on their O-line. They're going to run the ball like crazy. They're going to do everything to help Caleb Williams. That's why I like Ben Johnson.
Right, and that's why I think he'll be successful, not because they're watching tape of whether or not Caleb Williams is shrugging his shoulders. To me, 888-710-4ISN. Let's go to our pal Big Friendly, who's in California but wants to weigh in on his Wisconsin Mount Olympus. Good morning, Big Friendly.
Good morning, Maggie Malone, 411, Daddy Cool, Manny De Niro. Good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
We've got an intern now, too. You want to say hi to Zach?
Oh, Zach? Good morning, Zach. Don't worry, my man.
I know. Zach's making Perloff insecure because he's taller than Perloff. Perloff's used to being the tallest person around.
Is Zach the one who looks like a young Bogish?
No,
that's Connor. Wait, maybe. I don't know.
And then who's the gentleman who looks like
Quinn
Who's the gentleman who looks like Who's the gentleman who looks like he could be Perloff's older twin?
Oh, Gordon Damer.
Gordon Damer.
Gordon's not in today. We love Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon's awesome. No. Zach looks nothing like Gordon Damer.
Okay,
Who does Zach look like? Zach looks like he's kind of like
I don't know yet.
All-American type. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
he looks
he's
a little
got
like
the new car smell.
He went to Indiana. He's never seen, he's kind of young, so he's never seen Indiana be good at basketball.
Big Friendly, we got 10 seconds for you. What's up?
Okay,
Give
real
your Mount
quick.
Olympus real quick.
Bart Starr, Hank Aaron, Lombardi, and, of course, the late, great Bob Uecker.
There you go. Big Friendly nailing it right before the top of the hour. That might be the best one.
I should have done Bart Starr. I'm going to lose this poll because of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron bleeping Rodgers.
And his bad body language. All right, go vote 888-710-4ISN at Maggie and Pearl on X. Who has the better Mount Olympus? Coming up, Cowboys.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Once again, Dallas Cowboys find themselves in an unnecessary contract dispute that's of their own making. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We get back to our Mount Olympus project, the 4 sports gods from the city of Milwaukee, Green Bay, Madison, just the whole state of Wisconsin. Good morning, Perloff. How you doing?
I'm very, very good. I'm excited about my Mount Olympus. I'm excited about everything.
Okay. Well, I doubt you'd be excited if you were Micah Parsons right now, because this contract should have been signed, sealed, delivered long ago. And here we are back again with the Cowboys in a contract dispute with one of their highest paid and highest profile, I should say, and most important players for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Like, to me, this feels like the biggest no-brainer on earth. Dak Prescott getting $60 million was not a no-brainer. Micah Parsons getting 40, 41, 42. You know he's the future of your franchise. This one should have been done weeks ago.
Okay, you say that. I don't think most NFL people were saying that Dak Prescott was like, don't pay that guy. I think most people were like, you got to pay him. He's coming off an excellent season. What if, I also think in a year, if Micah Parsons becomes the highest paid non-quarterback, gets $41 million a year, then unfortunately gets hurt, we'll be like, oh, you didn't have to pay that guy. I feel like you're playing Monday morning quarterback on the Dak contract. And I think eventually, because Micah Parsons, there's fear, is he big enough to play this position, that you could end up playing Monday morning quarterback on this in 4 years. Like, I don't think it's such a no-brainer that you pay him $41 million a year. Like, is he the best non-quarterback in the NFL?
Well, I think he's the next up to get paid, because best sometimes doesn't factor into some of these contract things. Because Dak Prescott's not the best quarterback, yet he's making the most money.
But you're saying that was a mistake.
I am saying it's a mistake, but he did get it. He did get that money, so I understand it. But see, for Parsons is in a totally different part of his career. You actually are going to be paying Parsons for the future. You're paying him for what he hasn't done yet. And I feel very good by the data I have seen. Now, yeah, has he been on the field for a couple blowouts? But so has Dak Prescott.
Yeah, but has he been hurt? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but not in the way that Prescott has had. Prescott, that first injury where his foot came away from the ankle. Like, I think about that sometimes just in my private life, and a shudder goes down my spine. Now, to be fair, he has come back from it, but he's not exactly the same. And he's, clearly on the wrong side of 30.
If he had played all last year and thrown 35 touchdowns, would you be saying that right now?
Yeah, I don't think anyone believes that Dak's really a Super Bowl winning player. So, yeah, I think people believe it's odd that he's making more money, average money, not total, but average money than, most of the league.
So, again, you got to go back to last offseason. He was coming off an outstanding season, and they didn't really have a choice. And Dak's right in line with Trevor Lawrence and all these other guys and Jordan Love. It's not like he's crazy above all them. I think you have to force Micah Parsons to take less money so you keep team building, because Micah Parsons needs a lot of help. He really does. Like, this whole team, because of the way the contracts have fallen out, they need to spread this out and get more talent around them.
So that's another way that I'll kind of put this back on the Cowboys and Jerry in the front office, because unless he's completely lying, and this is all BS, Parsons has said he'll play ball. He has intimated that before, right? That he doesn't maybe need to be the highest paid, or maybe it's by a shade or whatever. He might not be looking to kill the organization on a contract, and they still don't have it done.
Yeah, but that being said, his agent is David Mulugeta. He's not giving any break to Jerry Jones. He's just
I don't
not.
know his reputation.
He got
as well
Deshaun
as you
Watson, $220 million guaranteed. Like this, that I don't buy the. I think Micah's side is negotiating too. It takes two to tango in this negotiation. I'm sure this is important. Like, these numbers actually matter. The Cowboys, like, just give him $41 million in 4 years. It's a risk. And even CeeDee Lamb, to make him the second highest paid receiver in the league, I thought that's a risk too. We'll see if that works out.
And that one took till the very end, basically right before the season. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Is Micah Parsons the guy you really want to be playing hardball with when it comes to a negotiation? Couldn't be me. I would like to pause on something for a moment too, because this has to do with Perloff's team, the defending champions, and Saquon Barkley is getting a lot of attention right now because I'm sure this is probably hit you in some way, whether it was social media, whether it was TV or what have you, but he's on the cover of Madden and he's reenacting the amazing moment during the season when they're playing against the Jaguars and he does the reverse hurdle.
Yeah, amazing.
Weirdly, this doesn't have a nickname yet. Does it?
It could. I don't know what it is. The way you described it is the way I talk about it too.
Yeah, reverse hurdle, but I feel like that's too technical. We need like a better nickname. I'm surprised the people of Philly haven't done it.
The overrated hurdle?
Well, Nanny. No. It wasn't overrated. It was amazing. So he's like in a harness, and it's this really cool shot, and they're reenacting it for Madden. But on things more seriously with Saquon Barkley, he was on the Greenlight Pod with Chris Long. Let's hear some of this, Connor. He hinted that retirement could be sooner rather than later.
I'll probably be one of those guys that it'll be out of nowhere. Like, I'll probably just wake up one day, whether it's next year or 2 years or 4 years, and just be like, yeah, it's over.
Okay, out of nowhere. So kind of reminds us a little bit like somebody else, a very famous running back who hung it up too soon.
One of my favorite plays of all time is probably my favorite play of all time is Barry Sanders. So probably similar to that. Maybe one day, it'll be out of nowhere. I'll probably be balling and just be like, yeah, call it quits.
And he's talking about this very nonchalantly, like, oh, yeah, one day you're going to wake up and I'll be gone, poof.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? One more from Barkley here. Says he'll never lose the desire to win, but, his family gets pretty intense during these games.
I don't think I will ever lose that passion. I'm just a competitor, and, if you come to my house and we play cards or we play what's that game where you put it on your head and you gotta imitate it and heads up.
Heads up.
We almost get into brawls in my house over games like that. So it's like
categories.
Yeah, the competitive nature is always going to be there.
Oh, man, I would love to play. Categories is my favorite game. We play it as a family all the time. I love to play. Is his uncle there, too, the boxer? That'd be amazing.
I don't want to play. If they're saying it's going to get intense, I don't want Ira and Barkley there on a game of Uno. So I'm going to get what? Like a bunch of cards thrown in my face? No, thanks. Anyway, I thought this was kind of interesting. We always say the people who talk about retirement the most are the ones who don't retire. But I also...
Yeah, but running backs are different, though. They tend to hang it up early.
I understand. And I understand why. But I just, two things about this. Number one, don't we still have a long way to go here with Barkley? We're talking about
no, we don't.
Retirement already?
How much longer do you think we have to go with this guy?
I thought at least the next 4 years.
4 years? First of all, he's falling like a rock in fantasy football drafts because people are so on to the workload of running backs. 4 years will put him in 32?
No,
Right.
31. Well, he's been in the league for 7 years.
Well, he's 28 now.
See, but you don't think he's going to have an 11-year career? Barry was 10. You don't think he'd have an 11-year career? He hasn't won an MVP yet, by the way. I mean...
I just think Derrick Henry's a freak. Let's put it that way. But what other kind of quick back has made it to 32 is very old for a running back.
Well, I have a theory, or I have an idea. How about this? How about you don't have to give him 345 carries in the regular season this upcoming year? Like, there's a way you can maybe manipulate his workload a little bit to try to get the most out of him.
Yeah, that's true. But then you're not going to... Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, the Eagles, even in the end of last year, had a lot of trouble slowing down the carries for Saquon Barkley. It's just this, the Madden curse, for example, has been lifted because they kept putting quarterbacks. The quarterbacks did not suffer the Madden curse, but all the running backs get hit by the Madden curse because you get on the cover of Madden by getting tons and tons of carries, and then you get injured next year, Christian McCaffrey. So it just feels like, why would Saquon Barkley buck all those trends? It just doesn't... Feels like every other running back, except for Derrick Henry, falls apart right around 30.
Well, because Saquon Barkley is on a great team. I'm not saying you can't get hurt, but he is on a great team. You do have this incredible offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
He got hurt in New York, but he was kind of exposed in New York too.
But we're talking about 2 years. We're not talking about 4 years. I mean, that's just very old for an NFL running back. And especially if you're going to get paid a lot. And especially the Eagles, clearly, this might be because they do not need Saquon Barkley. It's great to have him. But if you have Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, you have the best offensive line in the league, you can fill that spot. Because just based, there's a reason that running backs don't get $45 million a year. They're somewhat generic.
Well, okay, but I see what you're saying, and I know you guys, that your Eagles made the Super Bowl, 2 years before Barkley got there.
Yeah.
But everyone seems to be giving Barkley a lot of credit for being the guy who put you over the top. Now, ironically, it was not like the big guy in the Super Bowl, but obviously the playoff run was great. And you don't seem to do that. You don't seem to think that he's the guy who was the clear and obvious change that happened, and they did win this time.
Yeah, he definitely was like the one thing, but also the Eagles, like Howie's on such a roll. I have Howie Roseman, the GM, like he has been drafting these defensive guys too. Like his team is so young and talented. I don't feel like they need any one particular player. Even Hurts, how Howie Roseman feel like even if he went away, they could find somebody else to come in here. It just feels like the system has become pretty big. Like, for example, like you look at the great dynasties, they have not had consistency at running back in the last, Emmett in the 90s. But the Chiefs put any old guy at running back. The Patriots put any old guy at running back. Why would the Eagles be that different? Do they really need Saquon Barkley?
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Okay, you can weigh in on that. A little surprised Barkley is talking openly about retirement, which is funny. When we were doing our phone call last night, our pre-production call, Perloff thought I said Charles Barkley.
I'm like, he talks about retiring all the time.
Come on, man.
It's like, no, you're running back, Saquon Barkley. Okay, so two things that are shocking me right now with the Mount Olympus of Maggie and Perloff, the four sports gods from the state of Wisconsin. Number one, for once, I'm actually beating Perloff in the fan poll of who has the better Mount Olympus. So let's keep the good times rolling.
Thank you, Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
don't let the Rockies get hot. Don't let Maggie get hot.
I knew I shouldn't put on Rodgers. People told me don't put on Rodgers. That's really the only main difference. I went Rodgers, you went Robin Yao.
Yeah, and so we both have Favre on there. We both have Lombardi and Hank Aaron, of course. So not only is it surprising that maybe I'm actually going to get a W today against Perloff, but the second thing that's surprising me is this. Who is the more beloved Packers quarterback? This is not close.
Yeah.
84% so far are saying Brett Favre over Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to be honest, I am a little shocked. I thought this would be a little closer to 50-50.
Really?
Yeah, because, listen, Favre at the end wasn't fun, and now he's had this fall from grace afterwards. Aaron Rodgers at the end was not fun. We all remember the darkness retreat, and I don't get service at the Malibu house and all the ridiculous stuff, the ayahuasca. But, he continued this era of Packers greatness. Now, I left him off, so I'll, pot for the kettle. But it was a difficult decision I made. I wrestled with it. These poll results, 84% to 16%, it's like it's a no-brainer to people.
Yeah, Favre's like the legend. It's the gunslinger, Brett Favre.
I mean, I think Rodgers does a lot of stuff that's kind of legendary.
Yeah,
who owns up to doing psychedelic drugs?
I said, you don't know me.
But I think, I'll give, what was the wrestling thing he did? And the Bears thing, like Rodgers had his things in Green Bay, but they're not quite as iconic as Favre's things. And also too, I just think it's Rodgers a little California for Green Bay.
Really?
At the end, a little
fitted
bit.
Really there.
He's a little bit hippy dippy probably for Wisconsin.
Yeah, but it didn't seem to matter for the 18 years that he was there.
I think there's you're comparing him to Favre, who was just like, it was perfect. Brett Favre being Green Bay, something about him felt like bigger than football. I mean, listen, the old here, like Brett Favre was such a big deal. Like Rodgers is a big deal too, but Brett Favre was alone. There was no Brady to share the spotlight. We're talking about the years when he won the MVP, 95 to 98.
Peyton Manning, though, I mean, he came
in 98. So the years that Favre was at the top of the league.
John Elway, who we battled in the Super Bowl.
Ancient. Yeah, Elway's numbers, he was old.
Montana was, I guess,
he was out 93
at
last
the end
year.
was last year. Steve Young.
Steve Young was probably his biggest competition, but they fell off a little bit at the end of the 90s. He was definitely, he's had the whole thing to himself.
Well, Brady, though, was on the scene. Brady come
came
on the
in
scene later.
02.
Yeah, 01, 02.
Yeah, 01, right. No, I'm saying from 95 to 98 when he won 3 MVPs in the 90s, Brett Favre was the only really consistent. Steve Young, Randall, I think only
was he.
He kind of disappeared from 93 to 98.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think who else was right there with him.
It was Steve Young was probably 2, but I mean, I'd like to see an all-90s team. Who would it be? Anyone other than Favre? Steve Young, I guess.
Warren Moon.
No, just get out of here.
All right, let me think. 888-710. Well, Jim Kelly, my guy. 888-710-4ISN.
Yeah, but those guys all crossed into the 80s a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for sure. But still playing in the biggest games in the 90s.
But when Favre hit his peak, he
Troy
was
Aikman.
just standing there alone.
Okay. That got sidetracked. Who is the more beloved Packers quarterback? Is it Rodgers? Is it Favre? In your opinion, 888-710-4ISN. And our Mount Olympus of Wisconsin athletes. Coming up, speaking of Rodgers, we got an update. Where in the world is this dude? Give you a hint. Not Pittsburgh. Yet. MVP.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Daily was waiting by that glowing screen, hoping night shift crown would go to the king. Ship held it down night after night, with fire in his voice and truth in his mic. But the news came in like a cold hard slap. Pat Boyle's got it, felt like a trap. No shade on the kid, but let's be real. Shepherd earned a late night deal. Now Shepard ain't sleeping and Bailey's in tears. The Shepherd maniac's been loyal for years. We stayed up late, we rode every wave, but they gave it to Pat and dug Ship's grave. So we howled at the moon and cursed at the sky, asking one question: why, oh why, oh why? Meanwhile, Bellotti still don't show up for work. No call, no text, just gone with a smirk. Yet Ship clocked in through the thick and the thin. Rain or shine, he'd always check in. Infinity, you broke our trust. We wanted Shep and that's a must. You picked a Boyle, but we needed flame. Now the overnights just won't be the same. Yeah, Shep, it ain't sleeping, we're twisted with rage. You skipped the vet for the new kid on stage. From the Bronx to the burbs, we're standing tall. Shep, a maniac's answer every call. So crank up the static, let the record show. There's only one man for that late night blow. Pat's got the slot, but it don't feel right, 'cause Shep ain't sleeping, not tonight. Nothing ain't sleeping. We're twisted. Still ghosting. Daily was waiting by that glowing screen, hoping night shift crown would go to the king. Ship held it down night after night, with fire in his voice and truth in his mic. But the news came in like a cold hard slap. Pat Boyle's got it, felt like a trap. No shade on the kid, but let's be real.
Bailey's watching, throwing blame, saying I'm playing some digital games. Gerald is glitching, Lions lost, Shep and Wolf stuck like he's been paused. But Maggie Perloff, smooth as glass, the pixels shine, the stream so fast. Is it magic or is Nobody's track record is so delayed. Maybe, just maybe, if he'd do his job, we wouldn't be stuck in this digital fog. Maggie and Perloff, smooth as glass. The pixels shine, the stream so fast. Is it magic or is it fate? Or maybe Bellotti just showed up late.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
Don't know.
I'll tell you what he's up to. He's ruining my poll for our Maggie and Perloff show, Mount Olympus, 4 sports gods for every city. I put Aaron Rodgers on my list. We differentiate Maggie and I one spot. I have Aaron Rodgers. She has Robin Yount, and she's winning the poll. Of course, everyone loves Robin Yount, but Aaron Rodgers won 4 MVPs.
I know. I wake up every day and I'm like, I love Robin Yount. No.
Robin Yount.
My first thought.
When I was a kid, that was a guy with 100% approval rating. It's like, ooh, Robin Yount. What's that guy up there?
I mean, want to know his day to
and
day.
also, you get a little bit of the Paul Molitor love in there when you have.
Yeah, oh yeah. I factored this all in, which is why I think I'm going to win my first poll of this Mount Olympus project that we've been doing now for about a week. But the segment is called What the Bleep is Aaron Rodgers Up to Today? So let's get to that. Here's NFL insider Ian Rapoport with the latest, courtesy of the Pat McAfee Show.
We're sort of, unfortunately, where we were, which is them giving him, he's dealing with his personal stuff, them giving him his time, them hoping and believing that he is going to join them and be their quarterback, but not 100% knowing. And I think it's, it's crazy, but like there's been nothing to kind of push that.
God, the Steelers look bad here. All right, more from Rapoport detailing what Rodgers should do, what makes sense, but because it's Aaron Rodgers, well, who knows?
This time next week when the Steelers are mandatory minicamp, maybe it changes. That might be interesting. And that would be a time when it would make sense for him to go in, sign if he's going to sign, get his playbook, go home for the summer.
Find a smoothie.
Everything's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, so that's my thought, and that makes the most sense, but it is Aaron Rodgers, so I would literally rule nothing out.
Why do we even have NFL insiders when it comes to Aaron Rodgers? Like, why do we sit there and wait for Rap Sheet and Sandler? Because every time I'm like, well, I have no clue, but this is what I would do if I were him. Like, I could go on there. I'll go on the Pat McAfee show and say that Aaron Rodgers looks like he's signing with Pittsburgh. Beats me, right? I mean, has there been another report?
Make sure you courtesy that Andrew Perloff of the Maggie and Perloff Show.
Yeah, Rodgers looks like all things look good with Pittsburgh. But gosh, it's Aaron Rodgers, so you never know.
It's such a funny caveat that really doesn't exist for almost any other quarterback, maybe outside of Favre at the end of the Packers thing, where it's just, well, beats me.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think the insiders actually could get to this guy, but I think Rodgers closed his circle.
No, it's McAfee, right? Like, I think
I don't think McAfee knows. I think Rodgers knows that McAfee will have pressure to say it, so he didn't tell him.
Oh, maybe. But it's funny because it's Ian Rapoport on Pat McAfee show, but I would guess that McAfee actually would have more information than Rapoport at this point.
Well, and AJ Hawk, his co-host, most of the time is best friends with Rodgers.
One thing, though, that Ian did confirm here, which is Steelers' plan for this offseason when it came to quarterback was hope and pray. That's embarrassing. No matter if it ends up working out or not, I don't want to play the result here. That process is flawed.
Still better than last year.
I'm not so sure.
At least there's a hope and a pray. Last year was like, let's just get through this thing.
Let's get to Bogus. She's got headlines for us. What's up, Bogues?
Oh, hey, guys. Good to see you again. How many spots on the Philly Mount Olympus does Bryce Harper get? The Phils were 1-4 without him after he took a pitch off his right triceps last week, but he was back last night in Toronto.
The pitch swung on. Line drive, right field. Barger going back at that. He's looking up at that one, and that ball is into the Phillies bullpen as well and gone. Back-to-back home runs for Turner and Harper. and the Phillies jumped out to a 3-0 lead.
Harper going deep in his first at-bat back. Phillies scored 6 in that first en route to an 8-3 win over the Jays.
By the way, he will absolutely be on Mount Olympus in 5 years, without not even a doubt.
Philadelphia or Washington?
Philadelphia. If he plays out even half this contract, he's making Philly.
Because they're going to win a World Series in the next 5 years?
No, because it's something about him. He chose Philly, and he's been so loyal to the city.
So you're going to kick off
$310 million
Schmidt for that?
No, Schmidt makes it because the 4th spot is open because it's Schmidt, Dr. J, Bobby Clark. And I'm telling you, Bryce Harper is 100. If that guy plays 14 years in Philly and wins an MVP, it gets to the World Series.
The fact that you would suggest that Brian Dawkins is not on this is like crazy to me. Now, you're the Philadelphia person. I'm not. But all I know is that Brian Dawkins' jersey serves as formal wear in Philadelphia. You can literally wear that jersey to a black tie event. They love him there.
Yeah, but I think Bryce Harper is maybe Doc. Probably not. I mean, there's so many Eagles. I mean, if Jalen Hurts wins the 2nd Super Bowl, is you going to keep him off? But
people don't even think he's like a top quarterback right now, and he just won.
Where's Matisse Thybulle?
I think Bryce Harper.
It's Von Hayes.
Bryce Harper is
What about Iverson?
becoming really Philly.
Iverson.
How about Theo Ratliff?
No, but Iverson's real.
No, but you have to understand, Bryce Harper signed through the year 2036.
Okay.
Like, he is going to be Mr. Philadelphia if he actually sticks this out. AI was amazing, but Bryce Harper is probably going to end his career much more accomplished. 2 MVPs. If he could get them to the World Series, for gosh sakes, then it's easy.
I thought everyone believed that Bryce Harper doing all that Mr. Philadelphia stuff was just eyewash. No?
Well, I mean,
thought he was
listen,
just pandering to the home team.
his contract runs forever. Yeah, I mean, listen, at least he's pandering the home team. Exactly.
Unlike Joel Embiid. Didn't have it in him.
Maggie, I'm sorry.
Couldn't
Like,
pander.
we're not New York or LA. We're Philly. Yeah, we'll take it. I mean, if he wants to hang out for
Lie to us.
12 years. Yeah. We're talking
Let
about
me guess,
Milwaukee.
eating cheesesteaks at Pat's and Geno's?
Do you think Milwaukee would like Giannis to have the attitude towards his city that Bryce Harper does? Like, it's a big deal. Anyway, I digress.
So Harper homers in his return from that arm issue. Jazz Chisholm hit the tie-breaking homer in his return from a month-long absence. Thanks to an oblique strain, the Yankees got by the Guardians 3-2. The Royals used a 6-run fifth to win in St. Louis 10-7. KC mega prospect Jack Caglianone went 0 for 5 in his debut. Demoting their third base coach hasn't worked yet for the Braves. 8-3 losers at home to Arizona last night. Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte each went deep twice for the D-backs. The Rockies snapped their 22 series losing streak with a 3-2 win in Miami. They go for the sweep today. And the Rays beat the Rangers 5-1. Drew Rasmussen 5 scoreless, extending his scoreless streak now to 23 innings. If you've been watching Texans OTAs closely, get a hobby, but you've probably also noticed that CJ Stroud has not thrown when cameras were rolling, but calm down, says D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, there's no concerns with CJ. It's just general soreness. We're taking extra precaution with him, but he'll be good to go. No concerns on my end there.
I believe it's specifically general shoulder soreness for Stroud as well.
One of my favorite generals as well. Thank you for all your service, General Soreness.
Okay. Listen, for now, you should probably just believe the coaches, right?
I mean, there's really no need for him to throw now, but on the flip side,
why? Why now if you're just coming off the offseason?
Well, like that, I think the point is that there's even a decision to be made on whether he should throw is the problem. Like, this should be great. Like, let's just go out there and throw the ball around. No problems at all. Like, clearly there's something that made them go, hey, these actually don't really matter, so let's go slowly here.
Yeah, this is what it always makes me think. Not the CJ Stroud thing specifically, but when these kinds of things happen, when a guy's coming off their off season, then all of a sudden now you're starting to get ramped up for like training camp or whatever's on the horizon. Training camp's in July, but we're getting kind of ramped up.
Well,
here.
mini camp is soon, and you want him out there for mini camp.
So this is what it always makes me think. It always makes me think, and again, this is not this situation specifically, that there was a decision that should have been made at the end of last offseason, either to get a surgery or not a surgery. And someone decided not to get it. And
Wait, for Stroud or something?
I'm just saying in general when this stuff happens, that there was a decision where someone decided rest is going to be good enough and they don't get the surgery. And I'm not saying you always need the surgery, but then all of a sudden here we are and you're having soreness in the season. We're not even there yet.
I had the same thought last week or the week before when the Giants said that Malik Neighbors was basically off the field because he's got this toe thing that has been an issue since LSU. And again, not a doctor, but That's more than a year.
Right.
Like that seems to say something should be like some kind of medical procedure should fix that. Not like let's just keep managing this now into year 2.
But the press there, as I heard that they asked him, did he have any kind of procedure? And D'Amico Ryan shut it down. Like there's people think that maybe they went in there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, so
Yeah.
that maybe he had a procedure and it's
because
not
the Giants
healing
said
properly.
no to said neighbors had nothing done, that he's just resting and rehabbing this thing.
Yeah, I think
Okay, so
people,
sorry, a different side of the same coin.
People
He actually
thought,
did
like-
have the surgery and
well,
maybe
not
that.
surgery. He didn't have full labrum surgery, but people are wondering, did they break the skin and do something in there with the shoulder? That has been raised by Texans people, and I have no idea. But full labrum surgery would be a bummer. Like he'd be in big trouble.
You couldn't hide that.
Yeah, but also too, he might be really endangered for this season. This is not good. I said to Maggie last night, I'm like, why can't we have good things? I love that quarterback.
I wonder, does this open the door for the Jags? You guys saw Manny sent me the Travis Hunter highlight from OTAs yesterday. Anyone else see that? Him making a ridiculous interception? Anyone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for
he's
sure.
good.
All right.
Well, you yucked my yums when I sent you that video because you then proceeded to say, too bad it would have been called incomplete after all that.
I said, unfortunately, it would have been overturned on video review. That was not to yuck your yums. That was more of a commentary on the NFL and their terrible replay rule book situation.
I had my yums and you tried to
Whatever.
spin in them.
Who is the one who was pitching this in the first place? You can't take Travis Hunter now. He's mine. I'm the one.
Take him.
I want to play him on every snap, and I want to play him on special teams. I want that guy out there at all times.
Wait, who actually won money on him winning the Heisman?
You did.
Thank you.
By the way, the Colts will probably still be like 9-8 and still be playing in Week 17 for that division title.
Oh, the
Like they
Colts
are
with their
every year.
barn burner
It's
of a
gonna be
quarterback competition?
Somehow Gardner Minshew is going to end up being the quarterback in Week 16. And it's going to be like Jonathan Taylor is going to be coming off an injury. You know how that division plays. I still think the Texans are kind of loaded though. If they, they should be even without him. Maybe they could win a couple games. I don't know.
Which one of your friends is their backup quarterback this year?
Let's see. Who is their backup quarterback? Did Davis Mills switch teams? Am I crazy?
I had that same thought.
What's not Case? Case is in Chicago.
Right.
Right.
Is it a McCown? Is it a...
No, it's Bouchel.
Shane Bouchel is
No,
That's
he's
Perloff's fave backup quarterback.
No, just because I can state that he was with Cam Rising. Who is the backup? All right, I have it. Anyone want to take a guess? It's Davis Mills. But Graham Mertz. They drafted Graham Mertz in the 6th round, and everybody said, are you serious?
That means Stroud's shoulder is fine.
Graham Mertz went almost the same round as Shedeur Sanders. Wrap your head around that one.
It is not the NBA's famed in-season tournament. It's the WNBA's Commissioner's Cup, and I think it began last night. The Lynx now 8 for 8 on the season, taking care of the Mercury 88-65. The Fever, without Caitlin Clark, beat the Mystics 85-76, and the Storm topped the Wings 83-77 to snap a 3-game skid. Coco Gauff knocks down fellow American Madison Keys in the French Open quarters, 6-1 in the decisive third set. In the semis, she will face either 6-seeded Mira Andreeva or Louise Boisson, the woman who upset Jessica Pegula a few days ago. Boisson won their first set in a tiebreaker, is now serving at 2-3 in the second. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. So we gave our Mount Olympus of sports gods from the state of Wisconsin. We have an expert who will join us next to tell us just how right or wrong we were. Plus, we must get to a quarterback controversy. Too strong of a word. Is a controversy brewing at quarterback? We'll tell you who's in the crosshairs next. MVP.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Back on Maggie and Perloff Show. Real quick, Maggie, I was at an event last night for an organization I do some work with called the Fiber Children's Organization. They do summer camps for kids. It was at a very, very fancy place, very fancy party. The bathroom had an attendant. Now, this is my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So, luckily, I get in there and I see the guy. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And
You
luckily,
said a different word in your head, didn't
yeah,
you?
there are a couple people in there. I'm like, phew. So I can kind of do my business and get out without him working me for a tip.
Okay.
So I go to the bathroom, then I go to wash my hands, and he won't let me. He has to turn on the water.
Yep.
Then I'm like, okay, because I have a 20. I'm not breaking a 20. So I have no tip money. And then I go, and then he stops me on my way out. He says, wait 1 second. Proceeds to shine my shoes.
Well, now you got to tip him.
I only have a 20. So this is my worst nightmare. And I'm like, I'll get you. I'm going to come back. I got to get some money. I'll come back. I told him that. And then
you never came back.
I never came back. I had to go to the bathroom before we left, and I was like, forget it. I was just
I'm going to hold it.
I'm going to hold it so I don't have to tip this guy.
Perloff is going in an alley in the
Do women have attendance like
Of course
that?
we do. Of course we do.
Oh, it's the worst when you don't have the right tip money. I would have been happy to throw him $4 or $5.
I know. When I have a 5 on me, I'm just like, thank you very much. Yes, I will take that towel and that mint. Yeah.
The worst.
I
And
would
he
feel
was
bad.
very nice, too.
I have gone back, though, to give the person something.
Nobody had any change. My wife didn't have any change.
Sometimes they have change. It's a little awkward.
Break a 20 in the bathroom? I don't know. This is way too much.
Also,
Do you
this
really
is
want that change?
a funny part of Perloff's story is that there was an auction that was part of it, right?
Yeah.
And they were auctioning, of all things, a Karl Anthony Towns
Yeah.
jersey.
Went up to $7,000. Signed on. It was for charity, so.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's for charity.
Nobody's actually paying that price.
His stock couldn't be lower, and he still got 7 G's for the jersey.
Well, no. I mean, these are casual fans. His stock's fine. I mean, it is still a big deal.
Let's get to our pal. And today and every day, an expert in all things Wisconsin, and that is Bart Winkler. You hear him right here on the Infinity Sports Network from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time. And Bart, thanks so much for doing this. Boy, did we need you today. How you doing?
Oh, I am happy to be here at this time of the day.
You look thrilled. When people do night shows, then we ask them to wake up early in the morning. It always goes over really smooth. Blame Carlos for that. He said you were available, your producer, who we love. So we're doing the Mount Olympus of every great sports city in this country, the sports gods, the 4 sports gods. And we're tackling Wisconsin today. And Perloff and I actually matched on 3 of the same people, which is the first time that's happened. We both had Vince Lombardi. We both had Hank Aaron. We both had Brett Favre. I went with Robin Yount, and Perloff put Aaron Rodgers, on his Mount Olympus. Who got closer to the truth of what real fans in Wisconsin would pick?
Well, these are all very good options. The one I would say that you guys are totally missing is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Really?
Needs to be on.
I thought you were going to say Bart Starr.
I thought you were saying Bob Uecker.
Bob Uecker is also on the list. It would be, so my list would go, when I thought about this, the first guy I thought of was Vince Lombardi.
Mm-hmm.
That was first. But maybe it could have been Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker is, I mean, if we're talking godlike figures, we're still dealing with Bob Uecker's passing. Listening on the radio in the summer, it's not the same. The guys are doing great, but it's not the same. So Vince Lombardi's got to be on there. Bob Uecker's on there. Then I went to Giannis because, I mean, he won a title and he essentially saved this franchise. I don't know that they'd be here if they didn't draft him at this point. And then for the fourth one, thought of Hank Aaron, thought of Robin Yount, thought of even like Barry Alvarez.
Yep.
Who took a Badgers team and brought them back to, well, not back to, they sucked for a long time. But if we're talking godlike, it's got to be Favre.
Yeah.
It's got to be Favre. I'd love to put Bart Starr on there. You know, I don't want to put Brett Favre on. Let me get that clear. I don't want to put Favre on. I don't want to put Rodgers on. But the way that Favre, even with this documentary that came out, Favre, I don't think he's a good guy. Okay. But if Brett Favre was like, you know, on my block and I saw him outside and I talked to him for 5 minutes, that would be the story of my life. I would never stop talking about meeting Brett Favre and how great he was to talk to and how much of a, you know, great guy he is. Oh, but I don't care. I met him. I talked to him. So I go Lombardi, Giannis, Uecker, and then Brett Favre would be the fourth.
Well, Bart, obviously, key issue with Giannis. Does this offseason determine his status in Milwaukee a lot? And what do you think is going to happen there?
In terms of like fan reaction to him, I think we're at a point where we want what's best for both parties now, and that's Giannis and the Bucks. There's been so the whole time Giannis has been a Buck, people have been trying to rip him out of Milwaukee, and it's very annoying. And then the report comes out, a couple weeks ago, like, for the first time ever, Giannis is open to thinking about for the first time ever. Well, what was going on these last 8 years then? Why are we even talking about this these last 8 years? He has put pen to paper to stay here 3 times since his rookie deal. He has not done anything other than tell you how loyal he is, how much he likes it here. He's got 4 kids now. I see him every week at swim class. Okay, his kid, my kid. I don't talk to him. I get shy. But they're like unbothered. And I think he's got a great setup here. But the Bucks are also very much in trouble if they ever want to be good again. I would like to see him stay, but there is the possibility for the first time that he may not.
But I would not take my shirt off at swim lessons if I was next to Giannis. If just comparison-wise. I mean, you're in great shape, but Giannis, though, you don't want to stand next to that guy.
And he gets in the pool now with his youngest kid. And so there's other dads just like, already I don't want to take my shirt off. And then it's Giannis Antetokounmpo in the pool.
Yeah, well, that's funny. It's funny because he's on your Mount Rushmore, but you go to swim class, don't talk to him. But if you said if you met Brett Favre for 5 minutes, that would be the story of your life. I think just really underscoring how much Brett Favre might even be in the lead on this Mount Olympus thing. For the sports gods of Wisconsin, how he's in a different class all of his own. And to be honest, Bart, from the outsider perspective, I had Favre on my Mount Rushmore. I know as distasteful as this latest stuff has been with the welfare scandal and some of the stuff in his personal life, we realize what he means to Wisconsin, to the Packers. Why is he so much more popular than Aaron Rodgers?
I think because he was first, and because when Favre took over, he took over a team that was not good for decades. I mean, the Packers had their run in the 60s, of course, and then you get the phrases, the 70s and 80s. You want to go back to the 70s and 80s, 2 decades of just futility. And when Favre came, it wasn't just the change of an era, but the way that he was, he was a gunslinger. He was like larger than life. And for a lot of us, like, with Rodgers or Favre or whatever, Favre also took like a fake fatherhood. Like, I don't know. I'd watch the games with my dad and I'd be like, I'm watching my dad on. There's a weird, like, this is my dad in some way. I don't know how my dad would feel about that, but that's how a lot of us people felt growing up. And it was just like bringing them back to a Super Bowl and everything along with it and the way that he played. And when he left, it was a big, like, disaster and people were split, and then Rodgers comes along and that's great. I don't know that he ever connected in the same way. I mean, he definitely connected, but Favre, larger than life, kind of that aw shucks attitude, coming up here from Mississippi, getting embraced into the culture. He's hunting, he's fishing, he's doing all this stuff. So it took on a larger than life thing. I don't want him on this list. I want Bart Starr. I want somebody else, and I want to argue for them, but I can't deny that Favre would be on the mountain.
Actually, Bart, I have to admit, I'm a little jealous of the Robin Yount pick by Maggie. Is he a sports god there? Like, who is the brewer? Who's the go-to brewer? Because I feel like there are a couple guys.
Robin Yount and Paul Molitor and their run. I think if there's going to be one player, it's going to be Robin Yount. But you can't pass Euchre.
Yeah, God, I would have won this poll if I put Euchre.
Playing with the Braves and then announcing forever, and the national stature that he had, and the amount of times that Bob Uecker could have used Milwaukee as a springboard and left to go somewhere else and never did. And the thing with Bob Uecker is, you ask any iteration about the Brewers, any team, even this last couple of teams that he's been a part of, he's not the announcer of the team. He's a teammate to them. They miss him when they're on the road and he wasn't joining them. He's in the clubhouse all the time. He has long talks with all these guys. He gets to know all these guys. He is as much of a part of the Brewers as anybody. Opening day, they played a tribute, man. It was like, everyone's trying not to cry, but they are crying. And then they just got to a point where they looked around and saw everyone crying. They're like, screw it. And so, like, the whole stadium's crying. So it's just hard to pass Bob Uecker if you're going to look at a Brewer.
Listen, Uecker didn't have to leave. Bart Winkler is joining us, by the way. Listen to him on Infinity Sports Network from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Amazing job. We love him. We love his producer, Carlos. Amazing. You don't have to leave when Mr. Belvedere, they will come to you. You know, he can be on Carson. Like, he didn't have to. He was larger than life and didn't have to, you know, he could do all the things he wanted to do, Miller Lite commercials, all that stuff, and still be the voice of the Brewers. I have a last one for you, Bart, because I thought about putting this guy on, and I think it would have been not polarizing, that's not the word, but maybe just a little out of left field. I thought that Reggie White could have been a sports god in Green Bay, and I know, obviously, he had a lot of years in Philly, but there are so, like, he picked Green Bay in free agency and won. That has to amount for a lot, right?
Yeah, if we're gonna extend this to like a mountain range, you know,
the Cascade Mountains of
top 10, I think he's definitely on there. And maybe if he didn't pass away, you know, relatively young, and he was able to remain a pillar of the community and be present, you know, I hate to say that, but he was a big deal too. But then again, he was called up by Mike Holmgren, who told Reggie on the phone that it was God to get Reggie here. So maybe Mike Holmgren
should be
on this list.
Yeah.
What
He should
about
be in the
Reggie-
Hall of Fame, that's for sure. Mount Olympus might
Reggie's
be
a good one.
a hard bar to clear.
There was a old-time Green Bay Packer. Our good friend Peter King was obsessed with Don Hudson's stats, the wide receiver. Does Don Hudson have a special place there? He was like the Randy Moss of the 1930s, basically.
Don Hudson is the perfect guy to talk about Mount Olympus and to go through all these names and then to be like, oh, you know who we should probably think more of is Don Hudson, because he was very good and he just played so long ago that nobody ever thinks of him. But I'm glad you brought him up. That's very nice of you.
Yeah. Oh, and also by Paul Hornung was super famous too, right? But he didn't make any lists of anything for Green Bay. But as a kid, I knew.
But
Paul
there's
Hornung.
so many of those guys from the '60s, you know, and even back further that they all kind of get like tied up in Lombardi.
Yeah.
The same way maybe a lot of these Brewers get tied up in Euchre.
Does Lombardi have a presence? Like, is there a Lombardi signage in Milwaukee? I know we have a Vince Lombardi rest stop down the street in New Jersey. He's a big deal here. I imagine he's huge there.
Yeah, there's a Lombardi Avenue. You know, there's enough people that still dress up as him to games, which is fun. The best presence would be to win a Lombardi trophy again, which they haven't done in 16 years. But yeah, he's definitely still got a presence. A lot of kids around Wisconsin still getting the name Vince, even after all these years.
And we're talking to a Bart, which makes a lot of sense here. We're talking about sports gods in the state of Wisconsin. Last one for you, Bart. We only got about a minute. Jordan Love right now. I saw Matt LaFleur kind of felt like he had to defend Jordan Love for some tough questions. I think that was yesterday in the press conference. Take the temperature for us on Packer fans on Jordan Love heading into the season.
I think I said last night that the Packers are probably in the lead of teams that could win the Super Bowl that nobody is going to pick to win the Super Bowl. And I feel like Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, they have a big year. Matt LaFleur's been here 7 years now. This is Jordan Love's third year as a starter. Last year, they got away with, first year, there's no expectations. Second year, maybe let's do a little better. Had the years been switched and they got further in the second year than the first, we'd be maybe more excited coming in. But it's a big year. If they don't, at least division round, but I really think that they need to start going further in the playoffs if this is going to be a long-term thing.
I mean, if they could have banned the tush push, then maybe it would have all worked out.
Well, the tush push is stupid, so they should have done that.
Thank you, Bart. And let me just reintroduce you as we say goodbye. The smartest guy on the network, 10 p.m., 2 a.m. Bart Winkler, you and I are aligned on the tush push there. Thank you. Love listening to you. Say hi to Carlos for us, and have a great show tonight.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thank you for being our Wisconsin expert.
Yeah, but in 1942, Don Hudson had 1,211 receiving yards. Number 2, Ray McClain had 500 yards receiving. This is Peter King's favorite stat. He would like say, Andrew, I got to show you the 1942 stats. Don Hudson, sports god, but you only get one mountain.
That's true. All right, so the Mount Olympus of sports gods. Our project continues.
Who do we got tomorrow?
All right, let me tell you. Hold on one second. Stand by.
Oh, man, I should know this.
Oh, I knew this. Tomorrow, Kansas City. Sticking in the Midwest, guys. This one's going to be fun. Thank you, Manny Rodriguez. Great job. Connor Armstrong, you as well. Thank you to Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, who got a new intern, Zach, hanging out with us today, to the Weedos, the coffee drinkers, to Bart Winkler, who you can listen to tonight on Infinity Sports Network. Appreciate you all.